All right. Thank you very much po. On that note, I would like to request everyone to please rise for our prayer and to be followed by our national anthem.
Orasyo Imperata para sa COVID-19. Mahabagin at mapagmahal na Ama, nagsusumamo kami sa iyo upang hilingin ang iyong patnubay laban sa COVID-19 na nagpapahirap sa marami at kumitil na ng mga buhay. Tunghayan mo kami ng may pagmamahal at ipagadya kami ng inyong mapaghilom na kamay mula sa takot sa kamatayan at karamdaman. Itaguyod mo kami sa pag-asa at patatagin sa pananampalataya. Gabayan mo ang mga dalubhasang naatasan na tumuklas ng mga lunas at paraan upang ihinto ang paglaganap nito. Nagpapasalamat kami sa mga bakunang naisulong sa patnubay ng iyong mga kamay. Pagpalain mo ang aming mga pagsisikap na mawakasan ng mga bakuna ang pandemya sa aming bayan. Patnubayan mo ang mga lumilingap sa may sakit upang ang kanilang pagkalinga ay malaki pa ng husay at malasakit. Pagkalooban mo sila ng kalusugan sa isip at katawan, katatagan sa kanilang paninindigang maglingkod at ipagsanggalang sa karamdaman. Itinataas namin ang mga nagdurusa. Makanta nawa nila ang mabuting kalusugan. Lingapin mo rin ang mga kumakalinga sa kanila. Pagkamitin mo ng kapayapaang walang hanggan ang mga pumanaw na. Pagkalooban mo kami ng biyaya na magtulong-tulong tungo sa ikabubuti ng lahat. Pukawin sa amin ang pagmamalasakit sa mga nangangailangan. Sa pagdamay at malasakit namin sa bawat isa, malampasan nawa namin ang krisis na ito at lumago sa kabananan at pagbabalik loob sa iyo. Hinihiling namin ito sa pamamagitan ni Hesukristo na nabubuhay at naghaharing kasama mo at ng Espiritu Santo, Diyos magpasawalang hanggan. Amen.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas. Hayang mahilig, kalusan sinamalan, hanap ng puso, sa hilig ko'y buhay. Upang binirang, kuyagan ang pag-ibig, sa mandulubig, di ka mas isipin, sa gagat ang tulong sa simulan, sa nakitaw na lang, may tinanang tulakaw sa pagdayang inamahal. Isang lang matawag kulitan, ay kanatiligin, ang ituwin na karoon na kailan, ang kailigin. Tuhan ako, rogang, mahal namin magsimula, buhay langit sa amin mo. Ang bigaya naman ay mag-amin, ang pamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
You may be seated po. Alright, again, good morning everyone. Mapay nga aga haton nga tanan. Maayong buntag sa atong tanan. As we start the launching of our PINASLAKAS, sa inyong kanan, at sabihin nyo, I'm happy to see you. And lastly, sabihin mo congratulations kasi bago pa lang as mentioned sa akin dito yung mga newly elected. And lastly, pakisabi naman po, good job. Alright. So before we formally start, I would like to acknowledge those who are in attendance for this activity. Alright, starting off with our national government agencies. From OWA, With us is our OIC Regional Director, Maria Evangelina Villamor. Ma'am? Alright, kanina di ba yung pre-practice natin parang nawala? Ulitin nga natin. Alright, thank you very much. With us is the Regional Director of OCD, Director Lord Byron Torrecarion. And of course, our Regional Director from the DILG, Attorney Arnoldo Escobar Jr. With us is the TESDA Regional Director, Director Ramon Evan Ruiz. And from the Department of Health, Director Exoferia Sabalderino. And of course, we would like to acknowledge, just for the interest of time, I believe, my apologies. Hindi ko na po kayo iisa-isahin yung ating mga local chief executives. But allow me to introduce you per province. So once your province is called po, kindly stand up po. Alright, so we have the representatives first from the province of Samar. Represented by our PDRRM, Manuel Brain Torrevillas. Hello po, sir. And I would like to request all the local chief executives of Samar Province to please rise to be acknowledged. Alright. Good morning po sa inyong lahat. For our next province from Eastern Samar, with us is represented BM Melchor Melgar. Hello po, sir. Good morning. And of course, I would like to request all the local chief executives of Eastern Samar to please rise. Yan, nandito po sila. Good morning. Yan, parang pahina na yung pre-practice natin. Ulitin nga natin. Yan. Of course, from the province of Northern Samar, with us is our representative, Dr. Ninfa Cam. Hello, Doc. And of course, our Northern Samar local chief executive, please. Yan. Parang humihina na yung palakpak natin ulit po. Alright. Good morning po sa inyong lahat. From the province of Leyte, together with us is the President of the League of Municipalities of the Philippines. With us is Mayor Remedios Martin Pitilla. Ma'am. And of course, with the local chief executives of Leyte, please rise. Asan po tayo? Yan, dito po sila sa gitna. Alright. And of course, we would like to acknowledge all the municipal mayors from the province of Biliran. Please rise po. Alright. And of course, last but not the least, yung ating province of Southern Leyte. Alright, good morning po sa inyong lahat. Of course, we would like to acknowledge yung mga representatives natin or local chief executive from the different cities. Meron po ba? Please rise. Alright. So I think that's it po for all. Again, palakpakan naman po natin ang lahat for coming here. Of course, we would like to acknowledge the Governor of Biliran. We have here with us, Honorable Gerard Roger Espina. Hello, sir. Good morning po. Alright, and for those who are here po, good morning po sa inyong lahat. Alright, to formally welcome us, help me welcome the President of the League of the Municipalities of the Philippines and the Municipal Mayor of Palo, Leyte, Honorable Remedios Martin Pitilla. A round of applause, please.
It's a beautiful day today. I guess it's because we are all gathered this morning to listen to a very special project of the President in the Philippines, which we shall be briefed about, the new mayors, in the next few hours. So as mayor of the municipality of Palo, it's my great honor and privilege and joy to be able to welcome all of you to this event today. I bring also the greetings of Governor Ikot and Vice Governor Sandy Javier. Your presence today, I know, is very important, not just to the past mayors or the other mayors who are there now, but to us as well, the newly elected mayors and local government executives, because it's a challenge to us to be able to know what needs to be done and what is expected of every one of us. So, I welcome you all today. And your presence here now is a show of force. It's a show of force of our strong interest, our determination, and our commitment, our eagerness, and of course, our excitement to be part and parcel of this program of national government and to be able to be counted as one of those who in our offices as executives in the municipalities are bound to deliver to our constituents and to our people. So I welcome you all and I thank you for your presence. Let us show our sincere desire to be a part of a very important event. This we will learn this morning. I would also like to say that more than just an event, this gathering this morning, today, is one opportunity by which we can put together our hearts and look into what more we can do for our people in the field of health, protection, and safety in our communities. To our people in our municipalities and our provinces that we need to serve and we love to serve and task to serve. So today, to all of you who are here, I welcome you all to Palo. This is where it is held. And also to let you know, to let our leaders know that we are willing and happy to be of service to our people in the field of what we will be discussing today. So I greet with all sincerity Governor Roger Espina, our Director of the ILG, Attorney Arnaldo Escobar Jr., and Chairman of our RIATF, the Honorable Lord Byron Torre Carrion, how hard it is. Ano yung apelyido, Director? But I know that just as we are here, you are also here to serve us, to serve the people more. I also greet Dr. Ipsuperia Sabalberino of the Department of Health and to all local executives who are here, to our representatives of our governors and provincial leaders, to directors who are here, to all regional provincial directors who are here, welcome to the municipality of Palo and welcome to this event today. I would like you to, a little bit of your time, to watch a very short video about enchanting Palo. So thank you very much, and thank you for making it happen in the municipality of Palo. Thank you very much.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, that was Palo Leyte. Baka gusto niyo pong puntahan mamaya. And again, thank you very much, Mayor Martin, for that warm welcome. Indeed, as she mentioned, no, your presence right now is a show of force and commitment. And I believe as we close our gap in achieving our vaccination target po, no, yung mga mayor na nandito, I believe with your help, we can close the gap in achieving our target. And again, maraming salamat po, Mayor Martin. Let's give Mayor naman a round of applause for that. All right, and now to give a message, starting off with our chairman of the Regional Interagency Task Force for Emerging Infectious Disease. He is the Regional Director of DILG. Help me welcome Attorney Arnoldo Escobar Jr. A round of applause, please.
Maraming salamat, sir. Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Isang mainit po na pagbati mula po sa DILG sa ating pong kay Governor Roger Espinas. Governor, thank you for coming. At sa lahat ng mga acting governors na nandito, maraming salamat din po sa inyong pagdalo. And sa atin pong mga mayors na nandito din po ngayon, hindi ko na rin po kayo may isa-isa. Isa pong napakalaking pasasalamat po ang ibinibigay po namin dahil po personal po kayong nandito. At of course, ang ating mga congressman, mga representatives ng mga mayor na nandito din ngayon, maraming salamat po sa inyo at kayo po ay dumalo sa ating pagtitipon. And of course, sa ating pong host, si Mayor Remedios Pitilla. Ma'am, maraming salamat po sa pagpapa-unlock na kayo po ay maging host at mag-welcome po sa aming lahat. And sa ating mga kasama sa Regional Interagency Task Force ng against COVID-19 at sa aking co-chair si Ma'am Exu, RDXU of the UAs, and sa Regional Task Force COVID Chair din si RD Lord Turicarion, and sa lahat po ng member agencies ng Regional Interagency Task Force and Regional Task Force, lahat po against COVID-19. Sa ating mga kasama sa office ng DILG, DOH, and then sa OCD, at sa lahat po ng mga kawani ng gobyerno na nandito ngayon, maraming salamat po sa pagdalo ninyo. Nung nakaraan, mga 3 weeks ago or 1 month ago, nag-usap po kami ni RDXO and then ni RD Lord about ano ba yung magandang strategy natin para palakasin yung vaccination drive natin dito po sa region. At isa po sa napag-usapan namin na kailangan po, dahil ang karamihan po natin na mga mayors and governors ay bago at or yung iba naman ay kailangan siguro ng additional inputs para po sa ating response sa COVID. So nag-usap po kami at nagkaroon po kami ng idea na tipunin po lahat ang ating mga mayors at governors sa isang pagtitipon na kagaya po ito. So ito po ay produkto ng usapan ng RTF at RIATF against COVID-19. And maraming salamat po talaga at kayo po ay dumalo sa aming sa ating activity ngayong araw na ito. Supposed to be 2 batches po ito. Isang batch para sa Samar Island, isang batch para sa Leyte Island plus Biliran. Kaya lang minabuti namin na isahan na lang, may malaki palang venue dito kay Mayor. Opo, so nakita po namin na kayang-kaya naman sa isang venue. So kaya po sama-sama na po tayo ngayon. So hindi na po ako magbibigay ng mensahe, ang magbibigay po ng mensahe para po sa ating lahat ay ang amin pong Undersecretary for Local Government na si Engineer Marlo I. Iringan ng DILG ng Department of the Interior and Local Government. So maraming salamat po. Pakinggan po natin ang video message po ng aming Undersecretary Marlo Iringan.
Magandang araw sa ating lahat. Malugod naming binabati ang ating mga katuwang mula sa mga kagawaran ng nasyonal na pamahalaan at lalong-lalo na ang mga lokal na opisyal sa Eastern Visayas sa inyong paghahanda sa paglulunsad ng kampanyang PINASLAKAS na naglalayong mapalakas at maparami pa ang nagpapabakuna sa buong bansa laban sa COVID-19. Ang panganib na dulot ng pananalasan ng virus na ito ay patuloy na humahamon hindi lamang sa ating kalusugan kundi pati na rin sa katatagan ng ating bansa. As of today, we continue to record additional subvariant cases, while at the same time, COVID-19 cases continue to rise. The impact and effect of the virus continue to challenge not just our strength as individuals, but also the institutions of government. Hindi pa tapos ang laban tungkol sa COVID-19, kaya mahalaga na patuloy na mapanatili ang kalusugan ng ating mga nasasakupan dahil malaga ito sa pananatili ng karatagan ng ating lipunan at bansa. At nagsisimula ang proteksyon na ito sa pagkakaroon ng bakuna at booster shots ng lahat. This is the reason why the PINASLAKAS campaign was launched, as it aims to strengthen the wall of immunity of the entire country against the virus by ramping up the vaccine and booster shots coverage throughout the country. According to the Department of Health, this massive campaign aims to improve vaccine coverage target, covering at least 23 million Filipinos by aiming to administer boosters to 90% of senior citizens and 50% of the target population in the remaining 80 days of the first 100 days of the administration. That means achieving 397,000 doses of vaccine per day to reach the target in the remaining 80 days. On our part, in the DILG and the local government units, we share the major responsibility in cascading this campaign and its targets at the local level. Local government units are important elements to reach the target. That is why we need your participation beyond being involved. As of today, many local government units have launched the campaign in their respective areas of responsibility. Primarily, the focus of this intensified vaccination and booster drive are the senior citizens, the immunocompromised, and the youth who will be returning to school a few days from now. As the local government units in the region join the massive campaign and simultaneous launch of the national government, we encourage you to exert your very best effort to speed up and ramp up the vaccination status in your respective LGUs by bringing the vaccines closer to the people, such as setting up vaccination sites in terminals, plazas, markets, schools, offices, malls, churches, and even house-to-house campaign. In all of this, we encourage you to report your progress throughout the campaign and even beyond. This is in order to update your LGU, provincial and regional vaccination rate status. The local government units must work hand in hand with the respective health officials in your municipality and the province, as well as the Department of Health to make this happen. Our team in the DILG will include the Philippine National Police, the Bureau of Fire Protection, the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology is willing to work and render our assistance throughout to achieve and meet the target within the first 100 days of the present administration. We can make this happen. Walang pagsubok na hindi sa atin ibinibigay na hindi natin kinakaya. Kayang-kaya natin ito. Muli ang aming taus-pusong pagbati sa inyong lahat. Maraming salamat at mabuhay kayo.
All right. Thank you very much again, Attorney Escobar. And that was Yusek Iringan of DILG. Next to give the message naman po is also the chairman of the RTF for COVID-19, the director of OCD. Help me welcome Director Lord Byron Torrecarion. A round of applause, please.
Thank you. May naga, tanan, may buntag, upay naga. To our host, Mayor Petilia, thank you ma'am for hosting us. To Governor Espina, to all the mayors of Region 8 from the different provinces as far away as Northern Samar, of course here from Leyte. We'd like to thank you for joining us today. Sabi nga nila, life doesn't get easier or more forgiving. We get stronger and we get more resilient. Our world has changed so fast that it has basically become unrecognizable from 2 years and a half ago. Technologies that were not present even 10 years ago are now completely mainstream. And with this fact now, continuous learning is the minimum requirement for success in any field. These past 2 years and a half with COVID has taught us that we can win as a community. We can also lose as a community, and we can succeed as a community in our fight against COVID. No partnership between two independent entities, no matter how well run, can match the speed and effectiveness, responsiveness, and efficiency with that of one vision and one goal. And today we are here together to have one goal and one vision in overcoming COVID through increasing our vaccination rate in the region. It may seem like a tall order for us, but permit me to share a quote from K. Ash. Aerodynamically, a bumblebee should not be able to fly, but the bumblebee doesn't know that it cannot fly, so it goes on flying anyway. Thank you and good morning, everyone.
I thank you very much, Director Tukaran. To continue the message also from the OCD, we have a video message from Yusek Raimundo Ferrer.
A pleasant day, my dear local government chief executives of Eastern Visayas, heads and representatives of the Region 8 Disaster Risk Reduction Management Council and Regional Task Force on COVID-19, partners in the resilience advocacy, colleagues in government, friends, ladies and gentlemen. Today we hold this dialogue so that our new set of leaders at the local government level will be apprised of our systems and their roles and responsibilities in the scheme of things in our disaster risk reduction and management ecosystem. We need to get everyone on board, ready and capable to carry on with the work of protecting our people from all dangers and enabling them to achieve prosperity both individually and as a nation. We Filipinos, although incredibly resilient, have gone through so much in the clutches of this pandemic. A lot of sectors suffered setbacks and ordinary folk lost their jobs and livelihood. This is beside the ravages caused by the major disasters that we faced during the already difficult times of the pandemic. Still, I firmly believe that with the continuing effort of the entire government and the whole of society, we were able to shield the nation against the worst possible impact of COVID-19 and other disasters. I therefore look forward to the growth of cooperation between our agencies and our people as a fruit of this dialogue. With this, we will be able to surmount the lingering challenge of the pandemic and to face the threat of disasters that looms ever at the horizon. This dialogue and launching activity is the perfect avenue to build our linkages and prepare for what lies ahead of us. I encourage everyone to share their thoughts, views, and observations so that we can learn from one another and build our preparedness and resilience in the process. Though there is still the threat posed by COVID-19 subvariants, I would like to believe that the end of the pandemic is almost in sight. A lot of our countrymen have been vaccinated already, thanks to the tireless efforts of our colleagues at all levels of governance. I would like to take this opportunity then to encourage our people to get vaccinated as we continue to build our nation's resistance to the virus. We are steadily moving forward and we will move faster by ensuring that our people are fully protected from the disease. Let us make into reality the Lakas Pinas goal. With all those in mind, let us continue to work together to push our country further towards resilience, recovery, and development. Let us build a safer, climate change adaptive, and disaster-resilient Philippines. Thank you and best of luck in this most worthwhile endeavor. Mabuhay tayong lahat.
All right. That was Yusek Raimundo Ferrer. And now we also have our last video message from the Department of Health. Dr. Roy Ferrer, the Assistant Secretary for Health for Visayas and Mindanao FICT.
Yusek Marlo L. Iringan, Undersecretary for Local Government. Yusek Raimundo Ferrer, Manong, Administrator of OCD, Lord Byron Toricarion, my good friend, who is the Chairman of RTF COVID-19 and also the Regional Director of OCD 8, Exoperia Sabalberino, Regional Director DOH 8, Attorney Arnaldo Escobar, Regional Director DILG 8, Celerina T. Bato, Regional Director DTI 8, Karina Rosa Chiopes, Regional Director DOT 8, Rodolfo Antonio Albornoz, Assistant Regional Director DOH 8, Norman Huevico, OIC Regional Director, Assistant Regional Director DOLE 8, Shia Saises, Chief Policy Development and Planning Section OCD 8, Camelia Nemil, DepEd 8, Honorable Remedios L. Petilla, Municipal Mayor of Palo, Leyte, my colleagues in the health industry, maayong buntag kanatong tanan. As always, I am proud that Filipinos have an empowered, purpose-driven, able, and efficient healthcare workforce in the country. The Department of Health, through the Centers for Health Development, seeks to foster a synergistic relationship with all stakeholders in health, including the Department of Interior and Local Government, Office of the Civil Defense, Department of Trade and Industry, Department of Tourism, DepEd, among others. We have the same mandate to protect and save every Filipino, be it from disasters, diseases, and other infirmities. We must provide peace, food, safety, health, and all the other basic needs. We will move together because the whole of government concept needed us to explore avenues for collaboration and partnership with you in order to provide our constituents the optimal and tailor-fit health services. We have come this far, but we know we still fall short of what is envisioned for us to achieve. As of today, we still have a large target towards the country's goal of immunity. On behalf of the Department of Health, we would like to express our sincerest gratitude for your constant support and cooperation. We aim to seal commitment and showcase the revitalized PINASLAKAS campaign. Furthermore, this ceremony will display our existing efforts and unity supporting DOH vaccination drive. The PINASLAKAS COVID-19 vaccination program mobilizes additional assistance for the first 100 days and beyond. The DOH is currently focusing on the goal of scaling up our vaccination coverage as we continue to reopen our public spaces and schools. We will continue to work and heal as one. We aim to be realistic with our goals, and that is why we need to look for newer strategies and more support, especially doubling our efforts to penetrate hard to rich areas, so then we can wrap up the presidential directives through our best efforts. With that, we thank you for your leadership, stewardship, unending support, and continued partnership for a healthier, safer Pilipinas towards our accelerated socio-economic progress. With that, daghang salamat ug maayong buntag kanatong tanan.
Alright, thank you very much, Asek Ferrer. And now, I believe parang alima ata nagbigay ng messages. So, I think the message was already being received. Tama po ba? That we need this partnership to achieve yung ating goal in the vaccination drive. Don't you agree po? Parang wala atang nag-agree talaga. Parang wala atang Don't you agree po? Yes, of course. So now to start the ball rolling, We will be having again 6 speakers lang naman po for this day. And after which, we will be having an open forum should you have any clarifications or questions po from these different agencies, all right? So now to start, to discuss about the COVID-19 regional situation, the PINASLAKAS vaccination campaign and the COVID-19 vaccination operations accomplishment, help me welcome our very own Assistant Regional Director from the Department of Health, Dr. Rodolfo Antonio Albornoz. A round of applause, please.
Magandang umaga po sa atin lahat. Gob, ano po? Baka sa mga presidential table, baka gusto niyo pong maano yung leg natin para makita po yung screen. So as mentioned by Sir Ed po, ipipresenta ko po, magkukwento lang po tayo. Ano na po ba ang sitwasyon ng COVID dito sa region? Ano na po ba ang ginagawa natin? Sapat ba ang ating ginagawa at ano pang kailangan pong gawin na? Which is why tayo po nandito po lahat. Technology ngayon. Okay, so where are we now? Yes, next slide please. So since March 2020 up to the present, we have 62,642 cases po. At fortunately naman po, 61,000 or 98% naman ay naka-recover. Yan ang maganda naman po dito because of our health system at sa mga public health interventions po natin katulad ng nabanggit na po kanina yung pagbabakuna. So sa ngayon po, as of third week, ito pong mobility week, August 7 to 13 po, we have 260 active cases po ngayon. At dito sa 260 active cases, 70% po yan ay walang bakuna. So yun po, yung po mga data po na ating pong nalaka po from our Regional Epidemiology Surveillance Unit po. Kung mahalaga po yung ating intervention pagbabakuna. In terms of deaths po, we have a total of 677 deaths. Mapapansin niyo po dun sa 2022, 37 deaths. Again, dun sa 37 deaths po doon, 75% po doon ay hindi po bakunado. So yung po effect ang pagbabakuna at least nakakapagbigay po ng protection at less ang inyong hospital stay. Next slide po. So saan po itong mga cases ito? Ito po ay simula nung March ng 2020 up to the present. Karamihan po located po sa Leyte, followed by Samar, Tacloban, and Southern Leyte. Okay. Next slide po. Saan po sila ngayon? Ang mga nakikitang cases ito, saan sila na-expose? So mapapansin nyo, ang leading areas of exposure po ay sa bahay po. Ang pangalawa po sa workplace at yung pangatlo ay sa travels po and social gathering po. Siyempre, yung exposure po to ay dahil sa hindi rin pagsunod ng ating minimum public health standards. Katulad ng pagsusuot ng face mask, and social distancing plus yung washing of hands. Sunod na slides po. So ito po yung mga trending po ngayon ng cases, Although sa ngayon, mapapansin niyo po, medyo tumaas po itong bandang January po. Kung nababasa niyo yung figure niyan, there's 3,400 cases, Itong peak niyan, ito lang January 2022. Buti na lang po, through our collective, efforts naman po, na-control naman po natin, medyo bumaba po siya. Pero as of latest po, itong for the past 3 weeks po, tumataas na naman po siya ngayon, So medyo alalay lang po tayo, no? Let's be aware. Next slide po, makikita po dyan. Yan po, just to show na medyo tumataas po. Now, which is also what's happening outside the region, katulad na sa Metro Manila po. Okay. So in terms of the variants, nandito na po, meron na po tayo mga ilang sub-variants po, like yung Omicron po. At meron pa tayo dito yung variants under investigation. Pag sinabi pong under investigation, nagpadala na po tayo ng sample sa Philippine Genome Center. At nihintay lang po natin ang resulta as to what type of variant this is. Okay. So just be aware, no? So may mga variants na po dito rin sa atin, we're exposed. So ano pong magandang gawin po pag mga ganitong kaso po? So we need to implement ang ating PDITR strategies pa rin po, no? Yung prevent, detect, isolate, treat, reintegrate, no? Meron po pong tinatawag na plus at yun po ang pagbabakuna. Kaya no less than, ano po bang nangyari na sa pagbabakuna po natin? Ito pong sitwasyon as of August 14. Sige po, isa pang tigil po. Click forward. Yeah, okay. Ang total eligible population po na target po natin dito sa region is 3.4 million. So far po, 81% po ay naka-receive na ng first dose and 82% are fully vaccinated. Yun po naman ang good news lang po. Ang challenge po, as nabanggit po ng ating mga previous po natin, messages na diniin po nila, ang challenge po ito pong booster doses. Kasi ang epekto po ng bakuna, no, nag-away rin yan. Kaya po nagre-recommenda po tayo ng boosters. No? So ang efficacy po ng vaccine, it also goes down. So that's why first booster and second boosters are being recommended. Okay, next one po. So in terms of yung breakdown po natin per province po. Gob, congratulations ha. Dito po sa in terms of coverage for the A2, in terms of sa PINASLAKAS, mukhang naunahan nyo na po yung tinatawag na 90%, no? A2 coverage, senior citizen. So, ang target nyo po dito for the A2 is around 14,020. Baka, ewan ko lang po, hindi po makikita pa yung natitirang senior citizen na yan. No. Baka pwede nyo rin i-share po dito sa atin, o may siguro sa open forum, on how are you able to do it, no? Para magaya rin po, ma-adapt ng ating mga kasama po from the local government units din po. Pero ang challenge po, Gov, and mga mayors po, dito sa ating rest of the population. No? Ang target natin dito is 127,400. No? Pero doon sa ano natin, pagbabakuna, 15% pa lang. So we need to cover apologies, hindi nag-work ng laser. We need to cover 85% more, no? Itong population po to. So, ilan po itong 85% ito? 44,197 po. So, ito po ay sana ma-target po natin within the time frame po na nire-recommenda po ni Presidente. So, pero as far as ATO is concerned, saludo po kami. Wow, congratulations. Yung pinractice natin kanina na pinano ni Ed, bigyan kung recognition of the effort. Sila po muna, biliran po. So, next slide po. For Eastern Samar, 85% naman. No? Malapit na po, isang kembot na lang. Malapit na po ma-achieve natin yung 90% coverage. Ang challenge again is for the booster dose sa general population. So out of the 363,000 no, na eligible population, ang nababakunahan pa lang ay 9%. So mga taga-Eastern Samar po, medyo may challenge po to, pero nandito naman po, we can do it collectively naman po, kaya through our joint efforts naman. Diyan naman po ang ating mga taga-PIDOHOS po to provide the technical assistance if needed po. Okay, so susunod po na province would be North Leyte. Sa North Leyte, sa inyo pong mga kits, meron pong mga details po nandiyan dyan kung saang munisipyo, no? Ang distribution po ng population. You can have a look at it para matarget po natin kung saan tayo pupunta, no? So for North Leyte, ang eligible population po for the senior citizens is 140,000 plus. In terms of vaccination coverage po is 64%. But yung nga ho, medyo kailangan pang natin itong remaining target na 36,000 po para po doon sa 90% coverage rate po. For booster doses, general population, yun, ang isang medyo, we have 487,000 to be targeted for this timeline that is required, no? Sige po, next slide po. For Northern Samar, in terms of the senior citizen coverage, ang eligible population po doon is 45,000. And so far, 68% have been fully vaccinated. Remaining target po is around, kulang-kulang po, mga 9,900 plus po. And for the booster dose ng general population, isang challenge rin po yun. 9% pa lang ating bibigyan ng booster. And the remaining target is quite big, 194,363. Ang basis ng reference po ng eligible population po dito is from the Philippine Statistics Authority. No, just to be clear po, no? So these are estimates from the PSA po. Kasi kadalasan po nangyayari, meron po kayong actual data nyo po, figures, and from the different naman po from the PSA. So we have to we have to make some adjustment po in terms of coverage. For Western Samar, 60% po ang fully vaccinated for the senior citizens. Remaining target is 18,289. Kung Western Samar po, kaya naman po yan. So, we are here naman to work together naman po, no, para ma-achieve natin. Umiiling si ma'am. Kakayanan natin yan, ma'am. So, okay. In terms of the booster doses for the general population, 6% pa lang po nabibigyan natin ng booster dose. And remaining targets is 258,000 po. For Southern Leyte, medyo maganda rin po ang ng Southern Leyte, but needs more more effort po. In terms of the senior citizens, 77% have been fully vaccinated, and remaining targets is 5,627 na senior citizen po yun. Okay. So this PowerPoint naman po will be shared to you, no, through our DILG. Yeah. And as far as the booster dose is concerned, 317,000 plus po ito. And 16% pa lang ang nabibigyan po natin ng booster dose. So remaining targets po, medyo mataas rin po, 109,965 days. For Ormoc City, may representative from Ormoc? Ayun sir. Medyo halos naman po tayo with the previous province po na pinisental po natin, 77% po sila for Southern Leyte. For Ormoc, ang target po natin, ang eligible population is, for the senior citizen is 20,000 po. So far, 74% ang inyo po na-cover naman po, fully vaccinated. Mga ilang pang kembot pa, malapit na rin naman po yan, no? For the booster dose coverage of the general population, medyo challenging po dito, sir. 28% pa lang po ang ating nabibigyan. So we have to cover 37,000 pa po until the prescribed timeline po. The next is on Tacloban. Yes, Tacloban naman po, it's 71% in terms of vaccination coverage for the senior citizen. 4,300 na lang po ang ating pong remaining target. No? But for the booster dose, medyo may konting challenging po dito. No? We have to cover around 60,167 po. Okay. So, makikita naman po natin, hindi pa po sapat, no, sa ating mga efforts po, no? But, bakit po kaya? So, next slide po. We need to do more because, again, as a previously shown, no, nandiyan pa rin yung COVID-19, hindi pa ho tapos ang laban po natin, no? At pangalawa po, there is still an increasing trend of cases as shown before, no, yung mga previous slides po. In terms of our senior citizens po, 20% no, are not fully vaccinated. And pangapat po would be the 5 to 11 years old, na 70% pa lang ay kailangan pa hong bakunahan. And lastly, for the general population po, 40% of the population, or ilan po ito, mga 1.3 million po ito, needs booster shot, no, for their protection po. So ito po yung mga challenges. Kaya nakikita naman po ng kahalagan ng pagbabakuna, which is, as mentioned by our previous Secretary of Health, vaccination is a game changer po. And in fact, napanood niyo po sa news kanina, ultimo si Presidente, nagpa-booster na rin po. No? So, this is the value of the booster, no? Kaya, inaano po niya, nagpa-issue po siya itong mga direktiba. And which is first would be to reach the 90% coverage for the primary series of senior citizens. So, ilan po ito? Dito po sa region, it's around 389,646. As mentioned by Yusek Iringan po kanina po. And the second would be the 50% coverage for the first booster dose by October 8. Ilan po ito? 1.7 million po ito. At yung pangatlo po is to increase public confidence. Kasi meron pong ginawang focus group discussion on vaccine hesitancy. Marami pong mga disinformation na lumalabas po tungkol sa bakuna po, no? And nandito naman po ating health promotion team, no, to clarify, no, ang issues on misinformation that is being spread with regard to the COVID-19 vaccine. Just remember po, ang vaccine po ay safe, effective, available po yan. Wala po tayong problema sa supply, no? And in terms of health personnel naman po, available rin po, and we are willing to provide the necessary additional support naman po through our provincial DOH offices naman po. Okay. So once we achieve, no, as mentioned in sa mga previous messages that was given, we will be able to safely remove the mask mandates, limit the use of the alert level system, and fully open schools and remove other travel restrictions, in addition to avoiding hospital expenses related to COVID-19. So, starting this August po, next slide po, mayroon po tayo ngayong kampanya. Ang ginawa pong strategy po natin, kasi pinakita po sa slide kanina kung saan ba sila na-expose, di ba? Sa household, sa workplace, and sa mga other settings. So, yung pong i-adapt natin ngayon, settings-based approach. And these are, sige po, as mentioned rin po, nang binigyan pong message kanina po, mga messages po, different settings po. Next slide. Yes. So, dito mga lugar na kung saan po magsiset up ng mga vaccination sites po. No? The workplace, sa mga plaza, sa mga marketplaces, places of worship, sa mga schools, closed settings even, no? So kasama po natin dito mga taga-BJMP. So it's also one captured target na yun, literally, captured target na po, no? So pwede naman po, entitled naman po sila rin to be given health services. Kung napanood niyo po siguro sa news kagabi, may mga gumraduate na sa school, yung mga inmates, mga persons deprived of liberties. So kung sila po nakakapag-aral, ano po kayang pagbibigay ng bakuna? Pwede naman po. So with that, next slide, we would like to give recognition, no, to our LGUs, no, who were able to achieve the target, no, for the Rest Bakuna campaign. No? Previously po ito ay mga naka-achieve ng 70% fully vaccinated and 70% of fully vaccinated eligible population and 70% fully vaccinated of the senior citizens. So sino po itong mga top gun, no? Na mga province po na nakapag-achieve? Again, Gob, congratulations again. Number 1 kayo dito. Oh, you were able to cover 93% of the general population, and for the senior citizens, it's 94%. So, pa-burger kayo, Gob, ha? Okay, next po, ang ating mong magna cum laude po, Eastern Samar. So, congratulations din po. No? So, 72% for the general population. And for the senior citizens, it's 85% naman po. And for Southern Leyte po, it's 76% for the general pop, and for the senior citizens, it's 77%. So, ang maganda po dito, ano po message po dito? Nakikita po namin dito, na-achieve po nila yung mga targets, no? Eh, wala naman pong pinagkaiba to. These are also yung COVID-19 pa rin ito, no? So, baka pwede po ma-share nyo, no? How are you able to achieve? Baka pwede rin po natin i-adapt, no? Dito sa ating PINASLAKAS campaign. Siguro merong twist, no? Or additional, some changes naman po. Kasi nangyari na at naging successful. So these are success factors that can be shared, no, sa atin po on how are they able to do it. And maybe we can adapt it dito sa ating PINASLAKAS campaign. So next slide, these are the honorable mention naman po. So province and cities, no, na nakapag-achieve po ng 70. For Biliran, out of the 8 municipalities, 8 din po ang naka-achieve. So 100% po yan, Gov. And for Eastern Samar, 23 out of the 23 municipalities, 17 po. Again, saludo po ako sa Eastern Samar po. For Leyte, out of the 41, 10 po ang naka-achieve sa target. Very good. And for Northern Samar, out of the 24, 8 po ang na-cover naman po, naka-achieve ng target. Western Samar, 5 out of 26. Southern Leyte, 19 out of 19, 12 po. And for Moc, of course, naka-achieve naman po in Tacloban po. So, I think ito po yung last slide. At sa ending po, ang sa last slide po, isang pasasalamat po. Nais ko lang po i-share sa inyo ang battle cry po natin. So, Pilipinas na ligtas at malakas. Patuloy ang life natin sa labas. Lumahok na sa PINASLAKAS, tayong buong Pinas. Maraming po salamat at isang magandang araw po sa rin.
Alright, thank you very much, ARD Albornoz. And I hope everyone have seen the figures. And I hope hindi nyo lang po siya makita as numbers. I hope you see them also as these are the lives of the people that you have protected. These are the lives of the people that you have extended po yung mga buhay nila because of this deadly virus. Don't you agree po? And with that, saludo po kami with your leadership, lalo na po yung mga naka-achieve ng mga targets. And we do hope na we still aim high kahit namimit na po natin yung targets. And I do hope po yung mga iba na hindi pa nakakamit ng target, I believe there is more na pwede pa nating magawa. This activity is not just about the figures, but I hope we celebrate as well yung small wins natin. We are getting there na po. Don't you agree? Don't you agree po? Tama, 80% na po tayo. In fact, as of now is 81%. Konti na lang po. And I believe with your leadership, we can attain that. And again, maraming salamat po, ARD Albornoz, for that information. And now to continue, we will be discussing naman po the protocols for businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome the OIC Assistant Regional Director of DOLE, ARD Norman Oivico. A round of applause, please.
Good morning, everyone. To Mayor Martin Pitilla, good morning. To Go Spina, good morning. To RD Escobar, good morning. Also to RD Lord Byron, good morning po. And good morning as well, no, to all the ladies and gentlemen who are here. So our DOL Regional Director, Henry John Albuena, would like to extend his regards. Actually, he is really eager to join us today. Kaya lang he is on a mission right now kasi bukas meron kaming schedule for budget hearing. And our Assistant Regional Director as well, who is currently now at the office as the caretaker. So he is actually busy din preparing all the documents needed para doon sa budget hearing. So in behalf of DOLE, I am Peter Philip Patis and I will be the one to present to you our protocol on businesses and establishment with regards to COVID-19 protocol. So, in the previous presentation, it is mentioned the 3 directives of the President, no? So, itong presentation ko today is more on the 3rd directive of the President, which is to increase the public confidence, no, towards the reopening of the economy. So I will be presenting to you the safety seal. No, the safety seal certification program. Actually, this is a convergence program together with the DOH, DILG, DOT, and DTI. So we come up with a joint memorandum circular, and this agency are the technical working group for this program. At the same time, these are also the issuing authority. Okay, so what is safety seal certification? Of course, I would like to present to you first the implementing guidelines of the safety seal certification program. So, whereas in Section 15, Article 2 of the 1987 Philippines Constitution, which mandates that the state shall protect and promote the right to health of the people and still health conscious among them. Whereas, to contain the spread of the COVID-19 and prevent future surge, there is a need to enforce strict and continual compliance with the minimum public health standard, which is the DOH is crafted, especially in the business establishment and major public places. Next slide, please. Whereas the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Disease, or RIATF, adopted the StaySafe.ph. So this is StaySafe.ph is a digital platform for contact tracing application of the government and the institution of the Safety Seal Certification Program
to ensure compliance with the minimum public health standard. And these agencies are the one directed by this joint memorandum circular. The Department of Trade and Industry, which is the chairperson of the technical working group, and then co-chaired by the Department of Health and Department of Labor. And then members of these technical working groups are the Department of Interior and Local Government, as well as the Department of Tourism and the Department of Transportation. So later on, I will discuss ano yung mga specific rule ng technical working group with this joint memorandum circular. Next slide, please. So what is safety seal certification? The safety seal certification is a voluntary certification. So hindi siya mandatory for all establishment and businesses, but it is encouraged. No? It is a scheme that affirms that an establishment is compliant with the minimum public health standard. No? So, next slide please. The objective of this safety seal certification programs aims to assure the consumer, actually hindi lang siya consumer but the workers kasama din dito, no? Nang yung establishment, general establishment is compliance with the minimum public health standard set by the government. Okay? Then it's also encourage the adoption of the StaySafe.ph or any digital contact tracing application to strengthen the contact tracing initiative of the government and effectively contain the spread of COVID-19. And most of all, itong ating pinaka-goal talaga is to safely open the economy. Next slide. So this is now the technical working group or the issuing authority. Like I said, the chairperson of the Joint Memorandum Circular is headed by the DTI and co-chaired by Dolly and DOH. And the members are the DILG. Kasama po dito yung mga LGUs natin ng cities, municipalities and cities. Then for the tourism, sila po ang in charge doon sa primary tourism establishment. Ang TESDA, sila po ang mag-take charge doon sa mga testing centers and mga assessment centers. Then the OTR, yung sa public air, yung land and mga visas. And then the DepEd for the basic education, yung mga schools. And of course, the CHED for the higher education. Okay, so this joint memorandum circular, 21-01 series of 21, ito po yung, meron po siyang implementing guidelines. And from these implementing guidelines, meron po tayong nirelease na supplemental guidelines to deepen yung implementation of this program. Okay, so for Dole, kasi from the 6 members of this technical working group, yung Dole po ay kami po ang mag-i-issue ng safety seal for the establishment engaged in manufacturing, construction sites, yung mga utilities like electric, water, gas, air, conditioning supply, sewerage, saka waste management, then information and communication companies, and warehouses. So, yun po ang under or coverage ng DOLE. Next. So since this is for the dialogue with the new elected LCEs, i-present ko na rin po ang covered ng LGUs at saka municipalities. So they are also in charge, no? To implement the safety seal program sa mga malls, wet markets, retail store, restaurants outside the hotel and resorts, fast food, eateries, coffee shops, yung mga bank, money charger, out changers, phone shops, remittance centers, car wash, laundry service center, art galleries, sports centers, yung tutorial testing review centers, gym, spas, cinemas, and arcades na naandyan sa inyong area of jurisdiction. Okay, next. So, what is the eligibility and certification process? So, the following are the eligibility requirements to qualify for the safety seal certification. Number 1, compliance po siya sa ating minimum na business structure such as meron silang registration, business registration and accreditation requirements. For example, yung mayor's permit, sa DTI, yung business name registration or DOT accreditation and other business structure, legal business structure. Then, number 2 na requirements is meron silang contact tracing tools. So in case, ang pinopromote dito is yung staysafe.ph, but if you have other, yung mga LGUs, I have seen LGUs na meron silang sariling contact tracking application, pwede rin siyang mag-qualify dito as one of the requirements. Okay, the third is, of course, enforcement of the minimum public health standards which is set by the DOH. So we are very familiar with this. It has been mag-3 years na siguro na nagiging practice natin ito. Yung like for example, yung putting of the screening or triage area. Merong availability of hand wash station, observance of physical distancing. Ensure adequate air exchange, no? Kasi meron tayong mga establishment na hindi siya o enclosed, especially doon sa manufacturing and processing establishment, no? Dapat talaga magkaroon sila ng well-ventilated workplace. In fact, meron kami po sa DOLE, department order dyan, isa sa mga nire-require namin sa inspection sa mga workplaces na magkaroon talaga sila ng proper air ventilation. Then, disinfection protocol. Okay, may mga sanitation, regular sanitation of chair, desk, tables, counter pens, etc. No? And then wearing of face mask, face shield. And last is the establishment of a referral system for medical and psychosocial services. Next slide. Sa amin sa DOLE, during our inspection doon sa mga establishment, we are very particular na doon sa establishment, meron talaga silang designated safety officer. No? Who shall coordinate with the appropriate bodies for support and referral to the community. And as well also, mag-undertake ng contact tracing, mag-monitor ng status of the employees, implement return to work policies. No? So hindi lang siya mag-focus doon sa safety ng risk sa mga workers, but also perform this task. Then lastly is facility to proper storage, collection, treatment, and disposal of used face masks and other infectious waste. Okay, so meron po kami sa DOLE, meron po kaming checklist whenever we go to the establishment para i-inspect yung workplace nila. meron pong checklist. So, meron pong iba't ibang checklist for the types, depende po sa types of establishment and also by the issuing authority. So, iba-iba po. Iba po ang checklist ng DOT, iba ang checklist sa DIT, iba din ang checklist sa DOLE. Then, the safety seal toolkit. Kasi meron kami dyan proper format, yung seal, paano siya i-display, no? Next slide. So like I said, in the JMC, meron kaming supplemental guidelines na nirelease. And doon sa supplemental guidelines, nakasaad po doon na in every agency, pwede silang gumawa ng internal guidelines relative to these guidelines sa implementing of the safety seal. So for DOLE, ito po yung aming internal guidelines in the implementation of the Safety Seal Certification Program. So, who are eligible to apply? Lahat po ng mga compliant establishment na doon sa minimension kong checklist, compliant po sila, will be notified of their eligibility for safety seal certification and advised to apply at DOLE microsites. So meron po kaming microsites, dito po sila lahat mag-a-apply for request, magre-request for safety seal certification. So yung ginawa po ng DOLE is we emailed, we also send letter to the establishment and promote this safety seal na kung pwede silang mag-request po ng safety seal program sa DOLE. Okay, so number 2 is lahat po ng inspected establishment who did not apply shall be also be informed by our labor inspector for their eligibility for the safety seal. So, hindi lang po yung nag-request, but also lahat ng establishment na pinuntahan ng mga labor inspector namin, they were also encouraged na mag-request for this safety seal. Next slide. Okay, so for our microsites, mag-a-apply po sila online. So first is they will visit to the Bureau of Working Condition microsites. The URL is bwc.dole.gov.ph/safety seal. So inside our microsites, makikita po nila ang mga services and information doon regarding with this program. So makakapag-download po sila ng implementing guidelines para po they truly understand kung ano ba talaga itong safety seal certification. Then, andun din yung checklist. Para in advance, magkaroon na sila ng information, what are the things that we are going to inspect or expected sa kanilang workplace or establishment or businesses when it comes to safety. Makita din nila doon yung safety seal toolkit. And of course, yung mga list of establishment na nakapag-issue na o meron ng safety seal. And lastly, yung hotline. Kung meron po silang mga complaint or yung mga consumer or yung mga workers itself, kung meron po silang reklamo doon sa safety nila sa workplace, meron po kaming hotline na pwede nilang makita doon sa microsites namin. So the third is, since this safety seal is not mandatory, voluntary lang siya, so magre-request po ang owner o yung establishment ng safety seal certification. Pupunta po sila sa, actually dito sa microsites, mayroon po silang i-click doon na button and they will be redirected to our online application platform, which is reports.dole.gov.ph. Okay? Then pag andun na sila sa reports.dole.gov.ph sa platform, application platform namin, magre-register po sila ng account and they will fill out all the necessary fields. No? So, sanay na po tayo lahat dito. Paano itong gawin? And then they will submit their application. And note lang po, DOLE will only issue a safety seal certification to its covered industries. No, kung sa mga tourism sites, DOT na, sa public vehicle, air, and land vessels, doon na sila sa DOTR. Then, yung application will now be evaluated. It will be forwarded to the DOLE Regional Office for evaluation. Next. So during the evaluation, dito po magsisimula yung inspection and validation process ng mga taga-DOLE. So all establishment applying for safety seal certificate shall be inspected within 3 working days upon receipt of request. So pupuntahan po yan ng mga labor inspector namin, and then they will verify the following. Number 1, titingnan nila kung may business registration. Okay, example, mayor's permit, DTI, or SEC, and DOLE, no, registration, para doon sa Workers Association. Then, titingnan din, i-check kung meron silang stay safety or other, no, any contact tracing application kung meron sila. Then, compliance ba sila sa minimum public health, yung na-mention ko kaninang slides. And of course, sino at ano yung contact number ng kanilang safety officer. Okay, all findings shall be reflected in the monitoring checklist and notice of result to be issued by the labor inspector to the establishment. So right and then, bibigyan sila ng notice of results whether they are compliant or non-compliant. Then, approve safety seal certification. Upon verification of compliance with the GMC, the establishment shall be recommended for issuance of safety seal. Pero kung non-compliant naman siya, yung technical assistance will be provided for immediate compliance. No? So hindi lang siya pababayaan din ng DOLE, but they will be assisted to comply, especially to correct yung mga deficiencies nila, and they will be encouraged to reapply. Next. Okay, so sa issuance naman, let's say we are already compliant, no? So, sa issuance naman ng safety seal certificate, the regional director shall issue safety seal certificate imprinted, no? Hindi siya, actually mayroong, ang first na GMC is pwede siyang i-email. Pero in the second na release, ng supplemental, it is encouraged na printed ang ibigay sa kanila kasi baka ma-reproduce yung seal. So it will be printed, valid for 6 months from the date of issuance. So the validity of this safety seal is only good for 6 months. Then a notice of approval on safety seal shall be sent to the establishment. So alongside with the notice of approval. So hindi lang yung safety seal ang marireceive nila, but meron din silang notice of approval. Then the issuance of the safety seal certificate is on per establishment. So take note po dito, kung halimbawa ang isang establishment, ang isang owner ng business is mayroon siyang 3, per establishment po ang issuance ng ating safety seal. No, kung 3 yung i-apply niya. Then, location basis naman and per project basis for construction. No, kung sa construction sites tayo or sa construction industries, every construction sites will be inspected or will be issued by the safety seal certificate. So only one safety seal certificate shall be issued to the eligible establishment. Next slide. Okay, so when it comes naman sa display, renewal, or surrender of safety seal, the Doling Regional Office shall advise the establishment to properly display the safety seal in the main entrance of the establishment. So, hindi po siya pwede nasa gilid lang, mas lalong hindi pwede kung nasa likod. So, in case sa atin, kung papansin ninyo, yung ibang naka-receive na ng safety seal, nasa pintuan talaga yan. Sa main entrance, nakalagay yung safety seal. Okay, the safety seal certificates shall be renewable subject to validation of continued compliance with the eligibility requirements. So, gaya na banggit ko, this is only good for 6 months. So, after 6 months, mag-apply sila for renewal, but they will be subject for another inspection and validation with regards to their compliance. Then a safety seal certificate issued to the establishment shall be surrendered by the establishment to the Doling upon expiry. Kung nag-expire sila, dapat nila i-surrender, and or in the event that this will be revoked. Kasi meron din mga instances na nare-revoke po yung, or nababiolate ulit nila yung safety ng mga establishment, ng workers at saka sa consumers. Pwede pong i-revoke yung safety seal. Okay, so a new safety seal, if in case ma-revoke or ma-renew, mag-apply sila ulit, a new safety seal certificate shall be issued. Okay, next. Okay, the safety seal certificate may be revoked to prove you by the issuing authority or through a valid compliant. Okay, upon receipt of the valid complaint or information, the regional director shall issue to the establishment a notice to explain within 48 hours upon receipt of such notice. So, hindi naman kaagad siya i-revoke, no? So, or is subject for inspection muna, but they will be given a chance to explain within 48 hours. So within 48 hours, if hindi sila makapag-send ng explanation nila, doon napapasok yung pupuntahan sila or surprise inspection ng labor inspector namin. So with regards to complaint, the complaint must state ano po yung name and location ng establishment, particular public health standard violated, kung ano po yung violation nila, the name and contact number of the complaints, and supporting proof. Dapat meron silang proof, no? For example, photos. Then the regional director or his or her authorized representative shall conduct a verification conference to determine if the establishment has corrected the violation complained of. No? So if in case nakapag-explain yung establishment within 48 hours, pupuntahan po ng labor inspector for a conference at i-validate po if the violation has been corrected. Okay, next. The regional director shall also issue a letter revocation to the establishment who failed to submit proof of correction. So pwede rin sila, if ever nag-fail po sila to explain or to correct yung violation, pwede pong i-revoke yung safety seal. Tapos once makapag-issue na ito ng letter of revocation, this shall be the final and executory. So hindi na po siya pwedeng bawiin, So, final executory na siya. Then, upon receipt or referral to a valid complaint, The RO or regional office shall conduct a surprise inspection to the complaint establishment. The regional office may also conduct surprise inspection, motu proprio, for the purpose of revoking the safety seal. So especially, no, kung meron talagang nagkaroon ng mga COVID cases, no, may mga na-report na nagkaroon ng COVID cases sa establishment, talagang obligado po ang DOLE puntahan doon for inspection. Then, with full violation of any minimum public health standard. Okay. For the revoked safety seal naman, may be reinstated. So, pwede rin siyang ma-reinstate in accordance with the following. Pag nakapag-submit sila ng request for reinstatement, complete with proof of compliance with the minimum public health standard and the installation of the Stay Safe contact tracing application. Then, the conduct of inspection to verify compliance with the minimum public health standard. No, kung nakapag-comply naman na sila, pwedeng ma-reinstate yung revoked safety seal certification nila. Then, a new safety seal certificate shall be issued again, no? Valid for 6 months na naman upon reinstatement. Okay? So, the validity of the safety seal, again, is valid for 6 months from the date of issuance, except for those issued to tourism. Ang mga tourism, primary tourism establishment natin, yung safety seal nila is valid for 1 year. So, the safety seal shall be renewable subject to continued compliance with the eligibility requirements set forth herein. Then, meron po din tayong no wrong door policy. So, since maraming member dito sa technical working group at mga issuing authority din dito sila, meron po kaming no wrong door policy. No, pag hindi po covered ng DOLE, yung as the issuing authority, i-referred po sila doon sa appropriate issuing agency or concerned city and municipalities. No, again, yung covered po ng DOLE is doon lang sa manufacturing, construction sites, doon sa utilities, yung sa information communication and warehouses. Yun po ang covered ng DOLE. Okay, so thank you po. Doon po mag-end ang aking presentation.
Alright, thank you very much, Department of Labor and Employment, for that update. Again, let's give him a round of applause naman, sir. Maraming salamat. Now to discuss the protocols for business naman po for the Department of Trade and Industry. On behalf of Director Bato, we have here Ma'am Eleanor Etule. A round of applause, please.
Magandang hapon. Let's continue with the discussion on the health protocol, the protocols for establishment, the business establishment. So, let's start. Ito ni-request ko talaga. I feel comfortable when I'm the one everything. Okay. Okay. In behalf of my regional director, Regional Director Celine Bato, she cannot make it today. She's at the Robinsons North. Hindi po siya nagsa-shopping. Meron po kaming trade fair doon. So I would like everyone to invite to be at the Robinsons North. We have the trade fair on Gawang 8. It will run today, starting today, up to Sunday. So this is the GTI protocol to prevent spread of COVID-19 for business establishment. Wala na kung masyadong ipipresent. It was already presented by Dolly kanina. So I will just choose Ito kasalanan ito ni DOH, standard kasi standard. Kaya lahat ng pinisan kanina ni Dolly, carried yun sa presentation ko. So ito po. But then, let us be reminded ito. During the son of the President last July 25, 2022, ito yung first sona niya. He stated, for a health situation, the threat for COVID-19 is still there, especially now that the variants are being discovered. But we cannot afford another lockdown. We cannot implement another lockdown. We have to balance our health and welfare of our citizens in one end and the economy on the other hand. This is a very serious challenge to us na dapat natin pagtuunan ng pansin. So parang ito yung take-off point natin that we have to pursue vaccination. But for DTI, anong ginagawa niya? So we have a legal basis for our activity. The major activity actually is monitoring. So this is the basis for our monitoring activity. The first and foremost is the DTI Dolly entering guidance, which was discussed earlier, and this is the basis for our when we crafted the monitoring survey that we upload with the SurveyMonkey app. So we use the SurveyMonkey app to be easier for us to get the data. And then, itong guidelines na ito nanganak ng mga GMC, mga MC, lahat-lahat na, tapos hanggang na JMC na nagkaroon na tayo ng safety seal certification. So, huwag na natin, marami po itong ganito. So there are two kinds of monitoring activities conducted by DTI. So the first is by visit and the second is by application. When we say by visit, we mean the post-audit monitoring, and we use the Monkey Survey app. So parang actual na pinupuntahan yung mga establishments and then we input all the data through the Monkey Survey app. So, yun po ang ginagawa. Or by application, the safety seal application, which was discussed earlier by Dolly. Parehas lang po yan. So, in the Monkey Survey app, wider lang yung application because actually this is internal for DTI. So, we have the retailers, that includes the convenience stores, the supermarkets, the groceries, then we have the membership shopping clubs, logistics are included, logistic outlets, construction, hardware stores, service and repair shops, barber shops, salon, other personal care establishments, manufacturing, call centers and other related activities, food establishments, testing and tutorial center, review center, internet cafe, cinema, amusement arcades, gyms, fitness centers, pet grooming. Ito po yung minomonitor namin using the survey app and following the minimum standards set by DOH. At the same time, meron pa rin sa safety seal, it's smaller number na siya. We have the groceries, supermarkets, membership shopping club, convenience stores, construction supply, hardware, logistics service providers, barber shops and salons, service and repair shop. Bakit kumonti na siya? Kasi marami na kami dito, di ba? It was discussed earlier na kasama na dito si DOT, si DILG, si DOH, si Dolly, at saka si DTI. So, kanya-kanya na kaming establishment na monitor, but we are using the same standards. So, for your information, we were able to monitor a total of 1,081 establishments for post-audit monitoring, and we were able to issue certificates for safety seal of 104. So ito yung pagdating sa amin ito, ha? Post-monitoring audit, naka-graph siya. So it is easier for us to check whether this establishment is compliant or not. ito din yung safety seal. Pag meron nag-a-apply, diretso yan sa account ko to let me know na meron talaga applicant for the safety seal application. So we have to act on that. So ito yung sample ng survey questionnaire. So hindi na natin isa-isahin kasi this was discussed earlier by Drawing. So ito, the minimum health protocol at specific guidelines for sectors. Pero ito yung request namin sa mga LGUs. Kasi at the end of the post-monitoring report, survey, meron kasing undertaken and representation. Basahin ko po. The last part, basahin na lang natin lahat. I, the owner, manager, person in charge of the establishment, indicated therein hereby warrants to the DTI, and I am authorized to legally bind on said establishment that I confirm the information herein and true and correct, and based on the personal knowledge and authentic records. I am voluntarily applying, if they are applying for safety seal, for certification program. As applicant, I commit continuous compliance of my establishment with the minimum public health standards, including the use of Stay Safe, PH, or digital contact tracing application integrated therein, and agree to implement corrective actions, if any, within the time agreed with DTI, if granted the seal, and for any reason I receive a notification or order revoking my safety seal, I also commit to remove the said seal in my establishment or website upon receipt of notification or order. I commit continuous compliance of my establishment with the minimum public health standards. And ito yung pinakalas, importante po sa mga LGUs kasi we will be coordinating with you. I hereby agree to correct all mandatory practices that were found to be inconsistent with the prevailing regulations of minimum public health standards. Ito, watch out result. Should I fail to act on my deficiencies within 48 hours, DTI recommended to my shall. So this is mandatory because health standards, when you say shall, it's mandatory. Shall recommend to my host LGU the immediate temporary closure of my operation until such time that I fully able to comply. So, ito po yung panawagan namin sa lahat ng LGUs that we will be coordinating with you if we found some establishments na meron na non-compliant. So, I think we have to work with this. And then, pero sa ano naman namin, sa experience namin, the establishments are very cooperative, especially that they know na nasa ka-pandemic pa tayo. So, once they inform that, hindi pala kayo compliant, may ganito kayong mga kailangan i-comply, they are naman willing to comply. So, within 48 hours, kaya hindi naaabot na sa inyo, kasi nakukomply naman po nila. So, yun po for the LGUs and for your information. Okay. Sunod po. So ito, it was discussed already earlier, the safety seal, ito yung by application. The safety seal certification program of the DTI. So, the same thing, meron po dyan ang kailangan. Of course, the business name, that's the reason why you ask for it. And then the number, the issuance, expiration. By the way, lahat po kahit yung mga offices, they have to apply for safety seal through the ILG. In fact, for your information, DTI is mayroong kaming safety seal galing sa DILG. Yung office namin mayroong in-issue na ng safety seal certificate. So, yun pa rin, the same with the minimum health standards that was imposed by DOH, set by DOH. So,
hindi ko na siya patagalin pa. So, can establishments still be allowed to operate without safety seal? Siyempre pwede, pero it doesn't mean that you don't have to follow the minimum health standards. Kahit wala kang safety seal, dapat you follow the NPHS. So, ito yung kanina sinabi ko na part ng safety seal na minomonitor. So, groceries, supermarket, membership shopping clubs, convenience stores, construction supply, hardware stores, outlets, logistics, service providers, barbershop salons, service and repair shops. So, does safety seal cover all branches, outlets of certain store? The answer is no. So, kung like for example, like Robinson's North cannot use the safety seals of Robinson Marasbaras. So, dapat isa-isa lang talaga. So, if Robinson's North apply for safety seal, sa kanila lang po yung mapunta. If dapat mag-apply din sa Robinson Marasbaras.
How much is it cost? It's free. So this is the process. If it's by application, you go to the microsite, and then DTI will, then we will be notified. Then we will conduct the inspection. After the inspection, if it's eligible, we will email the safety seal for printing. But if it's not eligible, it will be denied. But it will be denied, pero pwede nila i-comply, and then it will another inspection again until the time na maging compliant na. Then by VSET, actually by VSET, yun ang sinabi ko, we will be using the SurveyMonkey form. So the same process pa rin, the same standard na discuss kanina. So, it can be renewed. So within 1 month before the expiry date, you can renew your safety seal. Can it be recalled? The answer is yes. It can be recalled. It was discussed earlier. So yun pang ginagawa namin sa DTI. We try to monitor the establishments if they're compliant or not, and then we're trying to introduce also another activity for DTI is the posting of the box card. Kasi this is and we are soliciting pala all LGUs your support to this box card. In fact, I researched earlier na regarding the use of this box card kasi we have to give power of this small piece of paper. Ito po. The box card states, please show your box card or any proof that you're fully vaccinated. Nakanihin, okay? I think this is a big move para ma-improve yung vaccination program natin. Ito, ganito siya na size. So, nasa kit nyo yun pa, yung mga box poster natin. So, ano magiging basis natin? Kasi wala itong gamit if there's no basis for this. In the joint resolution ng RIATF, we have, yes, number 55, it states that we have to adopt the RIATF resolution number 148-B series of 2001, which states that to accommodate only fully vaccinated individual and making and validly refuse, nakalagay doon, may validly refuse, entry or deny services to individuals who remain unvaccinated or partially unvaccinated.
So, resolution number 55 po yan. Or the IATF resolution number 148-B series of 2001. So, kaya nga we are able to have this, and then we are soliciting your support to have this posted at the establishment, to allow us posted at the entry of the establishment. So lahat ng establishments po, whether it's government establishments or business establishment. So yun po ang nire-request namin sa inyo na support. So for that, thank you very much and good afternoon.
All right, thank you very much. So to represent the records office, we have Sir Arnoldo Tuple. A round of applause, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to our distinguished guests who are here. Mayor Remedios L. Petilia, of course, ma'am, good afternoon, and the other directors who are here and their representatives as well. Of course, to the newly elected mayors. Protocols for tourism sites. We also have tourist safety seal for the Department of Tourism, but we will discuss other more important, well, it is important, we'll explain the other important protocols as well. On behalf of Director Karen, who could not join us, I am presenting the protocols for tourism sites. Earlier in 2020, around May, immediately after the declaration of the pandemic, the Regional Office of the Department of Tourism came up with a health and safety manual for the operation of tourism sites and activities under the new normal in Eastern Visayas. So we came up separate guidelines, individual guidelines for all of this. So health and safety at the workplace, health and safety of guests, safe bubbles in new carrying capacity, because in destinations, you do not allow mass of people going to destinations. So they have to be in safety bubbles, and recognizing as well the new carrying capacity. So like, for instance, in an island where 500 would usually be allowed, it would be cut into like half. And then for tourism infrastructure, sanitation and waste management, general guest bookings and registration, transfers, guiding and instructing tourism activities, and city tours, overnight campings, pilgrimages, fun farms, and protected areas guidelines. In 2020 up to 2022, these are the following DOT issuances on the operations of tourism enterprises and sites under the new normal. In 2020, there were 15 DOT administrative orders that were released, and we communicated this down to the levels in the provincial levels, and down to the city levels, because we needed the assistance of the local government in reminding our tour operators, our operators of hotel and restaurant in their respective localities. Of course, the tourism sites as well, and for strict compliance as well. Okay, so next slide, please. Here are the highlights and salient points that we'd like to discuss to our dear mayors. So these are very important. So for accommodation establishments, the accommodation establishment, except for accommodations establishment used as isolation facilities, only accommodation establishments that have DOT are accredited or permitted to operate in areas under alert level systems for COVID-19. All workers and employees physically reporting for work shall be fully vaccinated. No face mask, no entry policy. So this is consistent with the DOT Administrative Order number 2022, number 001, amended February in 2022. So for daily housekeeping and room service, for alert levels 4 and 5, on-site capacity only skeletal workforce shall be allowed for alert levels 4 and 5. But for alert levels 1, 2, and 3, okay, so it's not seen clearly here. Okay. May be allowed, cannot be seen clearly. Okay. So daily housekeeping is not allowed for alert levels 4 and 5 and allowed for alert levels 3, 2, and 1. Room service is allowed for all the alert levels, and food delivery services allowed for non-quarantine guests. So in Region 8, here are the current alert level status. Alert level 1 for Biliran, for Eastern Samar, Southern Leyte, Ormoc City, and Tacloban City, and alert level 2 for Leyte, Northern Samar, and Samar. Next slide, please. Salient points as well for the travel and tour agencies. They may operate in areas declared to be under alert level 1 and 3 to 100% operational, subject to minimum public health standards. So they should all follow the minimum public health standards. And then proper coordination with the local government health and travel advisories prior to the tour. And then it should be mandatory pre-booking. So no walk-ins as much as possible. Mandatory body temperature and use of PPE, is specifically face mask. Next slide, please. For the tourist land transport service, annual health checkup for the drivers and staff and proper use of PPE, specifically face mask. So the no mask, no boarding policy should be strictly adhered. Availability of first aid and sanitation kits inside the vehicle, and then the proper waste management and disinfection of vehicles after every use. So we would like everyone to be reminded that the disinfection should always be a top priority for tourist land transport service. Next slide, please. Okay. Public transportation in areas under alert level 1 shall be at full seating capacity. So these are for intrazonal and interzonal travels involving public land transportation between an area with higher alert level classification. So which means not the full seating capacity for a vehicle going to an area where they have an alert level that is different from the origin. So for the aviation, maritime, and rail public transport operating in and out of alert levels 1 The passenger capacity will be at 100%. Okay, next slide, please. For the MICE facility, you might wonder what MICE is. So MICE meaning to say these are facilities intended for meetings, incentives, conventions, conferences, and E4 exhibitions. This hall is an example of a MICE facility. So it caters to conferences, large conventions, and meeting areas. So the venue capacity limit, alert level 1, a maximum of 100% indoor and outdoor venue capacity for fully vaccinated individuals. So we would assume that everyone here has been vaccinated already. Alert level 2, a maximum of 50% indoor venue and 70% venue capacity for fully vaccinated individuals. So this has been in our DOT-AO, but this has, I think, to be updated as well. We cannot update ourselves because it is an issuance that would be coming from the head office. We are right now in Palo, and Palo right now, ma'am, is on alert level 2, no? Nasa Ringhiradi is 50%. But we are not 50% now, we're almost full. So contradicting pa niya, no? Okay. Mandatory body temperature screening in use of PPEs. Observance of proper physical distancing through markers. This facility is newly opened, and the markers that they have placed are not clearly visible. So I am not seeing any markers yet, but they have to have that placed. Mandatory briefing on health and safety, updates and other emergency measures, proper sanitation and disinfection immediately after this event here. Okay. So for restaurants, so for alert levels 1 and 2, we have this. Restaurant management, provision of safety apparel. So these are face masks, gloves, and apron for the management side. So these are for those who are in the kitchen and in the service. Safety bulletin board to ensure employees are trained and for health concerns. Annual health checkups of employees should be done as well. Restaurant configuration and setup, disinfect mats at the entrance. So this should be done every so often. I recall at the airport, every flight they would disinfect the mats at the entrances and the exits. So 1 meter spacing between customers. So seating capacity will also depend on the alert level. Sanitation and disinfection and safety measures. So deep cleaning, proper disinfection and sanitation within the restaurant premises, and frequent sanitation and disinfection of high-touch surface, regular pest control activities, and sufficient ventilation. Next slide, please. So, essential work meetings and social events. So, we define the essential work meetings and events as workshops, trainings, seminars, congresses, conventions, board meetings, colloquia, conclaves, symposia, company, government recognitions, and press conferences. For the social events, they should include debut and birthday parties, wedding ceremonies and receptions, wedding anniversaries, engagement parties, family reunions, bridal or baby showers. Okay, next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay. Management of participants, employees, and service providers. They should be using consistently face masks. There should be thermal scanning. Encourage contactless registration payment and and other transactions, staff training, health and emergency protocols, and provision of integrated health plans. Okay, so the venue setup as well, which should be sanitation and hygiene kits for staff, event participants and supplies in accessible areas. So I have been trying to look for them, but the venue has. Actually, ato dito, may naton dito alcohol, may naton alcohol, and may naton thermal scanner. But I don't see them in this entrance. Deploy roving personnel to monitor the compliance of visitor with physical distancing and other health and safety protocols. ICC materials posted in conspicuous areas, elevators with floor markings, isolation rooms designated for persons feeling unwell. Okay, so for this, damo nga salamat sa iyo nga tanan.
All right, thank you very much, Department of Tourism. And now to continue, we'll discuss about the COVID-19 protocols for educational institutions. Help me welcome the Nurse 2 of DepEd 8, Ms. Camilla Nemil. A round of applause, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of our Regional Director, Evelyn Pitalvero, I'll be the one to discuss on the guidelines or protocols on the prevention of COVID-19 and other infectious diseases, which can be found in DepEd Order Number 34, Series of 2022. 1. Face mask shall be mandatory in the reopening of classes. A face shield may be used in lieu of a face mask for activities requiring the entire face of an individual to be visible. Second, physical distancing shall be observed whenever possible. Third, classroom doors and windows shall be opened for ventilation. Students, teaching and unteaching personnel are strictly prohibited from eating together while facing one another. If there is a lack of space in the classroom or school premises to allow distancing during meals, eating shall be done in a manner where all individuals face in one direction and do not talk while their masks are off. Fifth, schools shall coordinate with the Department of Health for counseling on the benefits of COVID-19 vaccination of the family of an unvaccinated learner and implement mobile vaccination for those who sign a written consent to be vaccinated. Schools shall have an infection control plan and containment strategy that is ready to be implemented in the event of the spread of COVID-19 or other infectious diseases for their premises. Shall seek the support of a partner with mental health associations or psychiatry societies in their respective areas to assist in ensuring the mental wellness of students, teachers, and teaching personnel during the transition period. Learners who exhibit symptoms of COVID-19 shall be immediately excused from in-person classes and shall shift to distance learning. They shall only be required to those who feel well enough to answer modules or participate in online classes but are in the home or facility isolation. This provision excludes learners who are admitted to hospitals. To prevent learners with symptoms similar to COVID-19 from going to school, parents are highly encouraged to monitor and report the health status of their children to the school through class advisor and appropriate authorities. And lastly, schools shall not be held liable should any learner or personnel turn COVID-19 positive. There is no need for parents or guardians to sign a waiver for this item. Likewise, no parents or guardians' consent shall be required for a learner to resume 5 days in-person classes. That's all for the protocol of Department of Education. Good afternoon and thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Department of Education. And now for our last update for this afternoon, help me welcome the Chief Policy Development and Planning Section of the OCDA. Help me welcome Shir Raisha Saises. A round of applause, please.
Thank you, Sir Edward. So my respects to, of course, our governors and mayors who are present here today, and of course, the representatives of the mayors representing the local government units who are here today. So let me borrow lang siguro po yung ginawa po ni Sir Edward, our MC, earlier, no? Kasi medyo sa ganitong oras, especially kasi busog and malamig, baka makatulog po tayo sa lecture. So, yung PINASLAKAS po, sabi niya, mas dapat malakas yung ating palakpakan. So, pag sinabi kong Pinas, palakpakan niyo po. Kahit konti lang. Kaya practice po tayo. Yan. Pag dugtungan ko siya ng lakas, papalakas dapat yung pakpak natin. Okay? So, sige po. So, parinig nga ako ng malakas na palakpakan. Ayan. Pinas. Lakas. Ayan. Very good. And I guess we're ready to listen to the very last lecture before we proceed to the next agenda. So, again, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I am Sher Risha Saises from the Office of Civil Defense, and on behalf of my regional director and likewise the chairperson of the Regional Task Force and the Regional Disaster Risk Reduction Management Council, I will be presenting to you the disaster response operations. Next slide, please. The scope of the presentation are as follows. We will focus on 3 items. First is the Philippine Disaster Risk Profile and the Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Legal Basis. Second is the Harmonized Response, and the third one is the Ways Forward. So this is siguro yung mga second term, third term po, you are aware already of our Philippine Disaster Risk Profile and its legal basis. But for the benefit of the newly elected officials, we will run through a quick backgrounder lang po dito. Next slide. Allow me to begin the discussion of the Philippine Disaster Risk Profile. Before we proceed to the main part, before the exciting part, we first define what is a disaster. Disaster, according to the law, In Tagalog po, sakuna, delubyo, is a serious disruption of the functioning of a community or society involving a widespread human, material, economic, or environmental losses and impacts, which exceeds the ability of the affected community or society to cope using its own resources. Ibig sabihin po, natamaan po tayo ng bagyo, ng lindol, at mahirap po tayo makabangon sa dati po nating gawi o ginagawa, yun po ay isang disaster. Next slide, please. Now, knowing what is a disaster, we will now define or revisit our Philippine disaster risk profile. Sabi nga natin, one major reason why we have disasters in the Philippines is because of our geographic location. Sabi nga nila, we are exporters of hazards. You name it, we have it dito sa Pilipinas at even sa Region 8. Since we are situated along the highly seismic Pacific Ring of Fire, Pacific Ring of Fire, this is the area where the Philippine Sea and Eurasian tectonic plates meet and is prone to the occurrences of earthquakes, tsunamis, and volcanic eruptions. In fact, we have 300 volcanoes in the country, of which 22 are active. So napapansin ninyo, yung earthquakes, kahit ngayon po ay ongoing pa rin siya, every day we experience earthquakes. And that is because of this reason, because we are situated in the Pacific Ring of Fire. If you will look on the second picture above, if you will look at the distribution of active faults and trenches in the Philippines, these are found in several areas of the country. Moreover, if we will examine the seismicity or the frequency of occurrence of earthquakes, almost all parts of the country experience earthquakes on a daily basis. Generally, we encounter an average of 5 earthquakes a day. So, looking back, about a week or two ago, meron pong video circulating and involving our office with regards to earthquake dito sa Region 8. And naging viral po kami doon with a number of shares and likes and even the prayers sa comment section. At least aware na po tayo and the general public and our residents in our areas that we are really earthquake prone. And again, this is not just for Region 8 or Eastern Visayas, but it is all nationwide. So lahat po tayo dito sa country, because of the active faults present and the seismicity that we have in the country, we are really prone to earthquakes. Aside from being situated in the Pacific Ring of Fire, we are also located along the Pacific Typhoon Belt. So that's the lower picture sa ating PowerPoint. This explains the occurrences of different weather disturbances such as typhoons. And because of that, we experience an average of 20 typhoons per year according to Pag-asa, of which naman dito, more or less 5 typhoons are considered as destructive. And kahit naman po, as of course, our local chief executives and local DRRM officers, we know and it is for a fact that we are experiencing these hazards in our area. So, mula Luzon, Visayas, at Mindanao, we are really an exporter of these hazards. Next slide. So, ito po, Sabi ko nga kanina, because of our geographic location, of our disaster risk profile, we are exporter of these hazards. We have two classifications still. One for the natural hazard o gawa ng ating mother nature, and the other one is, di ba pa suspense? Next slide. Yan, the human-induced hazard. So dalawa po yung considered natin as, we consider as hazards dito sa ating bansa. And some examples are shown on the screen. So ilan lang po yan sa ating mga na-experience. Kasi sabi nga, you name it, we have it. Some may also ask, what about the pandemic and or the endemic? Actually, there are a lot of studies arguing that whether this two, the pandemic or the endemic, is considered as natural or human-induced. So wala pa siyang concrete na statement really supporting na ito ay either natural or human-induced. But one article said, and it is from the UN, that it may be considered as bioecological hazard. So, ayun po, dito sa atin, sa Philippines, we still, sa amin, sa part namin, we cannot really identify or pinpoint if it's natural or human-induced, but a bioecological hazard. Nonetheless, these have caused disasters. Nakita naman natin for the past 2 years that we have experienced disasters even with the pandemic or the endemic due to the loss of life. Ang dami na pong nawala. And this is not just for the Philippines alone, but the whole world in general. And even economical losses. Hence, meron po tayong disaster because of the pandemic. Next slide. So looking back with the Philippine disaster risk profile and the disasters that we have experienced in the past. Way back 2010 below. Ayun. From the late 2000s until 2009, the Philippines has experienced triggering eventualities or disasters such as Reming, Ondoy, and the likes, which compelled the Congress or the legislative to enact and pass Republic Act 10121 or the Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction and Management System Act of 2010. It shifted the paradigm from disaster anticipation, o sige, darating naman yan, madi-disaster naman tayo, may bagyo, disaster yan, sigurado yan. From that point of view, from PD 1566, we shifted to RA 10121 or what we call now as disaster risk reduction and management. We just don't anticipate disasters from happening, but we also do things, act things that will eventually prevent or lessen the impact of a disaster. So DRRM, ayan po, just to give you the legal basis of RA 10121, Disaster Risk Reduction and Management, DRRM is defined as the systematic process of using administrative directives, organizations, and operational skills and capacities to implement strategies, policies, and improve coping capacities in order to lessen the adverse impacts of hazards and the possibility of disasters. Again, from being reactive to being proactive. Okay? Next slide, please. To bring down DRRM, kasi sabi natin, reactive tayo before, but now we are being proactive. To bring down DRRM to the grassroots, RA 10121 further provides for the establishment of the DRRM network or the replication of the National DRRM Council from the national down to the regional, provincial, city, municipal, and even barangay levels. So as shown, yan po ang ating DRRM network. Next slide. Thank you. And it is further stated in RA 10121 under Section 15 of the law that this is how coordination during emergencies happens. So when only one barangay is affected, coordination will only be within the barangay. When two or more barangays are affected, the city or municipal level has to take over. When two or more cities are affected, the provincial level will be responsible for coordination. Similarly, the regional level will have to assist when two or more provinces are affected. So, basically, sinasabi dyan that the local DRRMCs shall take over or shall take the lead in preparing for, responding to, and recovering from the effects of any disaster based from this criteria as stated by law. Pero, sabi nga, tulong-tulong naman po tayo pag nakikita po talaga natin na hindi na kaya ng ating munisipyo, barangay, city, or even the province, the higher DRRM Council shall take over or shall assist. So one of the institutional innovations, from PD 1566 to RA 10121, yung RA 10121, the RA 1121 led for the permanent establishment of the local DRRM Council and office in every province, city, municipality, and barangay. This further strengthens under sections 11 and 12 of RA 10121, where assessment tools are being implemented by the national and regional DRRM councils. I guess you are familiar with this through the Gawad Kalasag and the Seal of Good Local Governance, which makes these sections very important. So the establishment of the local DRM council and offices are very important. Bakit? Because it is in charge of setting the direction, development, implementation, and coordination of DRRM programs in their areas. Sabi nga nila, the local counterpart of the Office of Civil Defense is our local DRRM office. Since we implement our DRM activities and programs sa regional level down to the provincial level, ganun din po ang ginagawa ng ating local DRM offices. Okay. Next slide. Some may ask, Iha, bakit, ano yung relationship ba ng lecture mo in terms of disaster operations sa COVID-19 or dito sa ating event on PINASLAKAS? Again, ulitin natin. Iha, ano bang relationship ng lecture mo on disaster operations with regards to COVID-19 and PINASLAKAS? Ayan po, may prize po yung mga pumalakpak. Ulitin natin, PINASLAKAS. Ayan. Very good. Akala ko po hindi na po interested. And more importantly, dito sa launching na ito, we all know that it is for a fact that we will be living in the new normal for quite some time. It is a silver lining na pababa ng ating cases on COVID-19. Pero, of course, sabi natin, it will linger for us for quite some time hanggat hindi po natin napaparami ang ating vaccination or marami pa pong hesitancy. So, siningit ko po yun. So, So hence, it is needless to say that we need to marry DRRM with the new normal in all thematic areas, especially with the new normal. So in view of what we call the new normal, the NDRRMC has published policies and plans to address, mitigate, and respond to the changing environment while considering the continuous implementation of DRRM in all thematic areas. Sabi nga kanina po, no, mga previous lectures and even our messages from our speakers, sabi nila na marami din tayong na-experience na disasters even with the pandemic. Nandyan si Odette, nandyan si Agaton, Ambo. Marami po tayong na-experience sa disasters. Pero hindi po sila nagsabi na, hindi ko na lang muna bibisitahin si Region 8 kasi may COVID-19 pandemic. Ano pa rin ginawa natin? We still responded, no? With the disaster. Nagbigay pa rin tayo ng relief items. Pero ginagawa pa rin po natin yung minimum public health standard ay nagpa-vaccine po tayo para mas mapalapit tayo sa ating mga kababayan. So that is still DRRM in the new normal. Next slide. So ano po ba yung sinasabi nating thematic areas? Kanina ka pa nagsasabi, may thematic areas tayo eh. So we have 4 thematic areas under the law. We have first the disaster prevention and mitigation, which is led by DOST. It says that we need to avoid hazards and mitigate their potential impacts by reducing vulnerabilities and exposure and enhancing capacities of communities. Next is disaster preparedness. The lead is the DILG. They help in establishing and strengthening capacities of communities to anticipate, cope, and recover for the negative impacts of emergency occurrences and disasters. So kahandaan din po yung ginagawa ng DILG. Next is our disaster response, which is led by the DSWD. They provide life preservation, meet the basic subsistence needs of affected population based on acceptable standards during or immediately after a disaster. And lastly, the disaster rehabilitation and recovery, or led by NEDA. They restore and improve the facilities and living conditions and capacities of affected communities and reduce risks in accordance with the Building Back Better principle. All of which, lahat ng 4 thematic areas na yan will only lead to one goal. One vision and one goal, and that is to have a safer, adaptive, and disaster-resilient Filipino towards sustainable development. So, kapag mabawasan tong disaster, mas makakaroon po tayo ng sustainable development. And that is with the help, of course, of our thematic areas. Next slide. Sorry. Ayan. With the recent disasters and eventualities experienced by the country, we shall focus on this specific thematic area for disaster response. Ayan, papunta na tayo sa exciting part, sa disaster response, which leads me to, next slide, the harmonized response. Ano po ba yung harmonized response na sinasabi po natin? To focus our attention to the response aspect of DRRM, we will refresh and reorient ourselves on the existing plans relative to response. So meron po pala tayong mga plano na ginagawa, no? Yan po. Introducing to you the National Disaster Response Plan. So this plan, or the NDRP, specifies the roles and responsibilities of the response clusters and their composition. And the NDRP is adopted to facilitate collaboration among in humanitarian assistance and disaster relief operations. And I guess it is also familiar with you that we have our response clusters from the regional, provincial, municipal, city, and even the barangay. So meron po tayo yan sa ating mga localities. The reference for the adoption of the NDRP is the National DRM Council Memorandum Number 22 Series of 2017, which provides the 3 NDRPs, each utilizing the cluster approach as follows. The first is the hydrometeorological hazard, earthquake, tsunami, and consequence management for terrorism-related incidents. So, meron po tayong 3 NDRP for each of the hazards. And I guess meron din po tayo niyan in the form of our contingency plans. The plans shown earlier have helped the member agencies composing the Regional DRM Council in executing their roles, responsibilities, and operating procedures in times of response. For example, sa amin, hindi po namin kaya na kami lang. So, we have our disaster response clusters to help us in executing our mandates and our goals in order for us to help those who are affected by disasters. This also enabled the interagency collaboration, which made resource utilization and mobilization, such as human resource, sea, land, or air assets, heavy equipment, and food items, among others. However, due to individual agency mandates, there are a lot of standard operating procedures that are being followed. So medyo marami-rami din po. Kanya-kanya po din kasi tayo ng mandato. This can cause a few bottlenecks. Konti lang naman. Due to processes in providing immediate relief, equipment, and assistance to the affected, especially on sudden onset disasters. Kaya po, next po, kung nakinig po kayo sa 4th cabinet meeting ni President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., he emphasized po the need to review our standard operating procedures in disaster response to create a uniform and coordinated approach during disasters. So para mas madali yung pagtulong, mas maagap ang ating pagtulong sa ating mga apektadong kababayan. Particularly, he highlighted in his cabinet meeting the following priorities for uniformity. So ayan po siya. Alert and warning, prepositioning, communications, clearing operations, and even the building of temporary structures. Next po. So with the directive, the Office of Civil Defense Central Office, as the Office of Civil Defense as a whole, but through the Central Office, as the implementing arm of the National DRM Council, has proposed, as shown, a one-pager harmonized disaster response SOP, which will generally provide a list of protocols or procedures to be implemented by the national, regional, and local DRM councils based on the 3 elements of response. And what are those? Strategic, operational, and tactical. And on the levels of disaster or incidents impact, that is the pre-impact, during impact, and post-disaster impact. It is also noted that specific protocols will be called out. So we also already have protocols na existing and even policies to support these protocols. Should there be a need to emphasize the specifics of each process? So basically, general lang po ang nakalagay dyan sa one-pager. Kumbaga, it is like our outline listo na meron po tayong checklist on what to do before, during, and after an impact of a disaster. Currently, Currently, these protocols are still for the National DRM Council's approval, so draft pa lang po ito, and will be cascaded down to the local government units once approved. So if we have noted that Yusek Ferrer highlighted po that these protocols will also be cascaded to the local government units for harmonization of our disaster response efforts. Next slide. So just to show you, shown are the general procedures under the strategic element of response where policies and decisions are made. So sa level po natin, the strategic element of response is for our local chief executives or what we call the responsible official. So sila po yung strategic element po natin. Directives and decisions and prioritizations are made by our local chief executives. Next. Harmonized disaster response for the operational element of response. This is where resources are provided and mobilized, where reports are generated and monitored, and where support to the response team are managed. Usually, the operational level of response is under the DRRM office. And lastly, very good. Lastly, shown are the general procedures under the tactical element. Tactical element naman po, where command and control are exercised and implementation of the responsible official, the local chief executive, directives are being implemented. So ito naman po, if you are aware or familiar, we have our incident management team. So sila po yung mga responders po natin. Yan na nagtatrabaho po sa baba. So as you can see, yung one-pager po natin na harmonized SOP, makikita na po natin doon kung ano dapat yung gagawin ng ating regional, provincial, and local DRM councils pre, during, and post, and with the different elements of response. So, meron na po tayong one-pager. However, still for improvement and development and for approval pa po ng NDRMC. So, once we have that, then we will be implementing what our President has directed us to do. Next. With the latest development in creating a more cohesive and swift protocols to provide immediate assistance to disaster-stricken communities, these are the action plan or way forward of the office and council. Next slide. Since most DRMCs are adopting the existing SOPs, when the proposed harmonized SOPs comes out, the same will be provided to the regional and local DRMCs and will be likewise cascaded to the grassroots. This SOP will also be bounded by a resolution by the national and the regional level in order for the disaster response thematic pillar will take into action the said protocols. So, lahat ng yan ay gagawin po natin with the help, of course, of our local chief executive, because without you po, wala pong direksyon ang lahat. Yung polisiya po natin ay hanggang utak lamang. But with your guidance and policies and direction, our local DRM offices and even po our direction with the COVID-19 and disaster risk reduction management will always be in order because of your leadership and your willingness to provide service to our Filipino people. Para po ito sa ating advokasya for PINASLAKAS. Thank you so much and good afternoon.
All right, thank you very much, Ma'am Sir. Trisha sizes. Ako naman. Thank you very much. So that concludes, ladies and gentlemen, the updates for the different agencies po. So now I request for all the speakers to please join me here in front for the open forum. I would like to request the ushers for the seats. All right. So again po, we are now on the open forum. So I'd like to request all the different speakers to please join us here in front. And we have a microphone. Yes po. For the mechanism of our question and answer po, kindly state na lang po yung name at saka LGU and what agency po yung question natin. So for a while po ma'am, we will just be waiting for the speakers to be seated here in front.
Sir, just to save time, anyway, everybody can listen to the question while they're on their way to their seats, okay? For the interest of time. So my question is for everyone, and the reason why I'm here is because Mayor Lovely of Alang-Alang has this query. Mayor Lovely's vaccination rate is currently at 60%. However, I'll just give one example. So she has a barangay of about 500. It says there that 400 are already vaccinated. 100 are not yet vaccinated. When she surveys the 100 individuals, it tells her that 60 of those 100 have already been vaccinated in Santa Fe, Palo, or Robinsons. So she's asking now, how can I increase my percentage when in fact these 60 people have already been vaccinated? Do I vaccinate them again? I mean, how do we do the math? How do we do the statistics? That's the first question. So I do not know how we can reconcile this because let's admit it, some, especially for Alang-Alang, it's really very close to Palo and Tacloban. So most of her constituents would go to these places and get their vaccination there, thereby reducing the rate of vaccination for Alang-Alang. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, ma'am. So if I got the question correctly, and before we do the answer, may I request all the speakers to kindly be seated here in front? All right. So more likely the question or the concern that was raised was more on the reporting side. Tama po ba? Once we have already reported, for example, nung na-cite po is 500, let's say the total population, 400 na po ang na-report by the LGU, and there are still remaining 100 po. However, upon looking into the records, these 100 remaining, 60 of those are already vaccinated. However, they are reported from a different local government unit. Parang ganun. So, more likely, hindi siya nare-report by the LGU because it was captured by a different local government unit. Alright, so anyone from the group po who may answer? EID po?
Sige. Maraming salamat po sa tanong. That is a perennial question po yan. Yan rin po naging issue po sa previous vaccination campaign rin po. So ang magiging approach po natin dito is data reconciliation po talaga. So PIDOHOs are there and meron na po tayong partner po from UNICEF through Relief International. No, may mga data encoder po tayong hinahire po just to make some adjustments ka po dun sa mga datos po natin, no? Para ma-capture po talaga kung saan po talaga mariregister yung ating pong mga constituents who were vaccinated. So, i-ano nyo lang po ma'am, we will take note of your area, no, and we will inform our PIDOHOs, no, para po makatulong naman po dun sa data reconciliation po natin, na. Kaya po kami nandito rin, the PIDOHOs are there, and meron na po tayong na-hire na additional data encoders. Before, meron po talagang data encoder na hire po ng LGUs eh. Pero after
after the campaign, medyo hindi na po nakapag-hire, kaya in support naman ng ating mga development partners such as UNICEF, nakita nila yung gap yon. So nagano po sila, nagbigay ng support to hire mismo ang DOH ng data encoders to assist LGUs, no, na may mga ganyan pong problema. So rest assured po ma'am, we will be looking into that through our PIDOAs. We will be getting back to you po, tungkol po sa inyo po. Hindi lang po sa inyong lugar po yan. In fact, we have every Tuesday po, we have a meeting po with the PHOs and CHOs through our program manager po sa National Immunization Program to answer mga issues and concerns such as ito po na nabanggit nyo po. Okay, maraming salamat po ma'am.
Alright, thank you very much, ARD. I have follow-up question.
Yeah, thank you, ARD. That would be the case of Alang-Alang. I'm again Mayor Joyke from Dulag, Leyte, and my next question is rightly addressed to DepEd because of the face-to-face classes that we will be holding. I've been in communication through text, through USEC Ablan, Christian Ablan, the new USEC for administration. Unfortunately, I'm not happy with the current rule that whether you're vaccinated or you're unvaccinated, you are okay to go face-to-face. Please remember, like in the case of Dulag, I don't have a hospital, I only have 2 doctors. In short, I cannot afford an outbreak. Therefore, may I ask from this body if it will be all right if I will do a little discrimination, meaning you cannot mix vaccinated with the unvaccinated. So if this classroom is all vaccinated, they enter the school every Monday morning. The unvaccinated, they go to school every Monday afternoon. Separate classroom. They can still do face-to-face, but let's not put them together because the risk of infection to the unvaccinated is higher. And remember, prevention is still better than cure. In the words of the Waray, naada urhi it pagbasol. I do not like na makakadahing basol because what we're talking about are lives of children. You do not like your children to die because of COVID. And most especially, as I said, if I am erring in my decision, I erred because I took so much precaution. Yun lang. And I hope I can get the view of the medical professionals here. Is it really all right to mix the vaccinated from the unvaccinated? That's it. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much, Mayor Joy. So from the PEDPO response.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Doc. Good afternoon. It's in all knowledge that what has been our Vice President has said that there should be no discrimination of our learners and teachers even if they are not vaccinated. But still, we still have to follow the local RIATF protocols. So, yes po, Doc. So, ganun pa rin po, with DepEd stand, because there was no law on that, we still follow, but still, the RIATF protocol will still prevail.
Ma'am, can you give, is that found in the DO34 series of 2022 that you cited a while ago?
Yes po.
Thank you, because I will really enforce that in my town. I mean, I'm not discriminating, I'm protecting. That's it.
Yes, Doc. Thank you po.
All right, thank you very much, Mayor Joy, for that, and also, ma'am. Yes, to add po, ma'am, sure, please.
Yes, I would just like to add on na lang po siguro, Mayor, with regards po doon sa concern natin kanina, no? I guess, hindi lang po for Dulag, but all other LGUs have the same sentiments din po and worries. Tama po, prevention is better than cure. And since OCD, as the chairperson of the RDRRMC, from regional task force, it will be with the regional DRRMC na po. So I guess that would be one, if it is okay with our chairperson, we will propose that as one of the agenda items. And we will invite DepEd and other, from the DILG of course, and we will tackle that kasi baka hindi lamang po yan with Dulag, but all other local government units. And we may consider din po dun sa ating naging concern ngayon po. Thank you so much po.
All right, right, thank you very much, Ma'am Sher. Any more questions from the body? Meron pa po ba? Yes, ma'am. Mayor Joy.
This is not a concern, but actually a suggestion. Because 2 weeks ago, somebody from DOH called me and said, Mayor, you have a suspected monkeypox patient who is admitted right now in a local hospital. So I said, okay. I had my team organized because we were already preparing for monkeypox. But my problem was, the samples will still have to be sent to our ITM. So may I just request RDXO here, if we can also possibly have the test for monkeypox here in the region. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, for raising that concern regarding the monkeypox. At the moment, the region has no capacity to test the monkeypox. It's still in the plan of the Department of Health to regionalize the testing centers for monkeypox. However, as at the moment, wala pa tayo. Pero very soon, our workers from our COVID laboratories will also be trained kasi it's the same PCR machine din ang ginagamit. So very soon, magkakaroon siguro tayo in the region. Thank you. Okay, sige. Yeah, okay. It's very well noted, Mayor. Thank you.
Sa rejoinder po doon sa kinument po ni RD, RIATM is doing a readiness assessment checklist po ng mga regions na para kung ready na po yung ating mga laboratories to do the test. This to August po to schedule. So, pina-fast track na rin po. We will be following through with it. For the information, Mayor. Yes, yan na.
Alright, thank you very much, Mayor Joy and RD and ERD po. So, on the process na po tayo, ina-assess na rin po tayo yung ating mga laboratory for the monkeypox. Alright, so do we have any more questions from the body po? That was from the province of Leyte. Sa ibang province po, baka meron po tayong mga gustong itanong or i-clarify for our different national government agencies, please. Alright. I can see the table from Samar Province. Merong discussion po. Alright, merong votation din, Mayor, kung sino daw magsasalita. Parang naboto po kayo. Alright. Mayor Cabael? Yes, Mayor Cabael daw po. Unanimous decision po. Kayo po ang pinagsasalita. Please.
Hello, bud. Actually, the better question would be coming from Attorney Ines, but masugot man ako. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mayor Cabael of the Municipality of Muchong. This is in regards to the deadline or the target parahan booster shot vaccination, which is in October. What would be the sanction if hindi natin makayang maabot yung required na vaccination ngayong October? Yun lang po yung aming tanong. Thank you very much. Yes. And if ever, ano naman yung reward kung maaabot natin yung target na 50 ba? 50% booster shot vaccination by October. Thank you very much.
All right, from the panel or from our resource person for the first question and the second question as well.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor, for raising that concern. Wala pa akong nabasa na mayroon sanctions if an LGU has low vaccination coverage. However, the government is encouraging all local government units to achieve the 90% senior citizen coverage and 50% for the general population simply because we want the population to be protected. We want to protect everyone in the region and to boost the economy of the country. So that's the very reason. It's an added protection for individuals, for your constituents. So na-mentioned earlier, anong magiging benefits pag mataas ang vaccination nyo? Of course, wala na tayong lockdowns. We will have a face-to-face classes. Tourism will now start again to be vibrant. And many more benefits na nakita nyo earlier. So yun ang makikita natin. Wala nang gastos ang LGU for hospitalization of your constituents who might probably go on to moderate, severe, or critical, or even death. Yun ang prevent natin in the region. So it's additional protection for everyone in the region. And another reward, of course, in some forum, there will be some LGUs who will be recognized for best performing LGUs in terms of achieving the highest coverage in your respective provinces. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, RD. Meron po bang idadagdag? Alright, so the question kanina po, no, feedback. Yung sanctions daw po kasi wala pa po tayo. Baka may proposal po sa group ang sanction. Meron po. Right, thank you very much, Mayor. So yes, please.
Good afternoon to everyone. I'm Mayor Myrna Ojeda-Tan from Zamaraga. My question is, as the data presented this morning, seems like talaga hindi lang sa munisipyo ko ang may problema about vaccination for our adults, especially for senior citizen. Ang tanong ko, kasi nagpaplano kami to strategize kung anong gagawin natin, kaya before ang problema, hindi madadala ang gamot sa mga barangays, kaya we are island municipality, pero ngayon pwede na. Ang problema, mayroon pa rin silang discretion to choose kung magpapavaccinate sila or hindi. One plan sa strategy namin, gusto sana namin ipaabot na kung wala silang, they are not vaccinated, hindi nila matatanggap yung pension nila. Pwede ba yun? Can we break any laws of that? Na one strategy yun, na kung hindi sila magpapavaccinize, wala silang social pension. That's all. Thank you.
Alright, so basically the question is, pwede bang hindi i-release? Sound check, yan. I-release yung pension po, Mayor, tama? Sa mga hindi nagpapavaccine. Baka may legal tayo dito or pwedeng makasagot po? Anyone po? Or sa mga panelists, baka meron pong makakasagot? May lawyer po ba tayo dito?
Okay, I'm actually a lawyer by profession. Honestly, we cannot say and tell our people that you should be vaccinated before you can get benefits, Mayor. Because again, the right to one person's life is paramount. So pag dili talaga magusto, we cannot force them. But what I do in Dulag is this. For those vaccinated social pension, I release those pension this week. I delay the pension of the unvaccinated for, let's say, 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So I discriminate, I still give them. So matataranta na kay, nakakuha na si Pulano. So they would come to my office office na and said, Mayor, oy, delay sa national lang. I will not say I'm the one delaying it. Baka wala na maboto, di ba? So I say, ay, wala pag i-release si DSWD ang mga dili bakunado. Unya, batagan mo, pero kung how long maguwat, dili ko kasabot. Maayo na lang magpabakuna na lang mo para maupod mo sa lista sa mga bakunado. I delay them for about 2.5 weeks. That's what I do. It's 4-piece, wala kita control because it goes inside their ATM. It's social pension as long as kita na-distribute in collaboration with DSWD, kaya natin ma-delay diri bakunado. Style lang. Thank you.
Alright, thank you very much, Mayor Joy. So at least no, parang sharing ito ng best practices. Hindi po dapat nating hindi ibigay, pwedeng may mga delaying tactics tayo. Parang ganon. Yes, mind on leisuring na according kay Mayor, tama. Alright, thank you very much, Mayor, for that. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. Sir, since DILG, DOH are pushing us, no, the LGU pushing us to impose or to implement the vaccination program. Honestly, sa ground, I'm the municipal administrator of Oriental Leyte. I am in partnership with our MHO in encouraging the people in our town to vaccinate. Pero talagang mahirap, matitigas ang ulo, tanan. Ginawa namin lahat yung mga, like sinabi ng isang mayor sa Dulag, lahat talaga. Pero naging matalino pa yung mga tao sa amin. Because of Attorney Acosta, yung PAO chief, ginawa nilang kuan na lahat. Can we request the DOH regional office and the DILG to request Congress requiring mandatory vaccination? Kahit kung maging mandatory yan, talagang bisan 100% siguro mabaksinate namin lahat ng tao namin sa aming bayan. Yun lang, sir.
Alright, thank you very much, sir, for that. So basically, the recommendation is for the offices, no, like DILG and DOH, to request Congress to make it mandatory. So I think our secretariat are noting these things and pag-uusapan ito, I believe, ng committee. Or do we have any response from DILG? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Yun talaga yung mahirap kasi there is no law talaga mandating this vaccine. So, Congress, kailangan natin ng Congress. But right now, since this is immediate, ang naiisip lang natin is strategies talaga para makumbinsi sila para magpabakuna. So, and just like the strategy of Mayor Joy doon sa Dulag, nagagawa naman. So, nagpunta ako doon sa Villaba, talagang mahirap doon at mahirap para sa doktor doon na nag-iisa. So, siya yung nag-consultation and then siya pa rin yung doon sa dami ng population doon sa Villaba. So, mahirap talaga sa kanya. So, itong forum na ito, maganda talaga na we have to share our innovation or strategy. And natutuwa kami na nag-share si Mayor Joy ng kanyang strategy. One strategy na nakita ko para tumaas yung vaccination, and I think sana ready kayo, yung vaccination card na i-require ng mga establishments. Total, yung mga establishments naman na nandyan sa jurisdiction nyo ay under your regulation, di po ba? Maraming kinakita kanina yung ating mga kasama from DOT, from DTI,
DOLE, meron doon na mga establishments na kayo naman yung nag-inspection, humihingi ng mga business permits. If we can require the business establishments na yung mga papasok sa establishments nila mag-present ng vaccination card para pumasok doon, makapasok doon, di mas maganda yon if the establishments can enforce that vaccination card. Lalong-lalo na kung itong mga establishments ay mga tourist destination, mga luxury, inuman, kainan, mga ganyan, na hindi naman talaga basic necessity yung pupuntahan. Kasi mga bars na yan, mga inuman, sabungan, if we can enforce that vaccination card bago ka makapasok dyan, mas maganda, mas maraming magpapabakuna. Lalong-lalo na mga sabungero. We require the sabungero na bago kayo pumasok sa sabungan, you present the vaccination card mo plus yung household mo kasi babalik ka doon. so babalik ka sa pamilya mo, sa household mo, dapat mga bakunado na rin yun. So parang ganon. Ikaw, bibili ka ng sigarilyo, show me your vaccination card. Di ba? Bibili ka ng beer or alak, show me your vaccination card. I think we can have more strategies to just encourage everyone, lalong-lalo na yung mga matitigas ang ulo, para makumbinsi natin na magpabakuna. While we in the regional level, we will continue to engage our superiors in this kind of endeavors ninyo na para mapalakas yung vaccination rate natin dito sa Region 8. So yun po yung yun na lang po yung gagawin namin, and we take note ng mga concerns po ninyo so that i-feedback po namin doon sa higher level. So yun lang po yung pwede kong ma-respond. But I encourage everyone yung may unique and very innovative na strategy, please share to us dito po sa microphone ang inyong mga strategies para po magamit po ng ibang mayors natin. Maraming salamat po. Magandang hapon.
Thank you very much, Director Escobar. Alright, so yung senior ni RD is the requirement for the vaccination card. Parang iko-control natin yung movements ng ating mga constituents.